who says that today, he says the Green Bay Packers begin their stretch run, which is actually the sound that I posted, or actually the title that I posted. This is the stretch run. And the scenario getting down the stretch run is the Packers have to win out, which we all suspected. The Giants have to lose 3 out of 4. Washington has to lose 3 out of 4. Seattle has to lose 2 out of 4. I think the first portion of that is unlikely. That's, the Packers to win out. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't want to be the bucket of cold water on anybody else's optimism. But for the Giants to lose 3 out of 4, I can see it. I think they'll lose to the Vikings. I think they'll lose to the Eagles, and I think they'll lose to the Commanders. They play the Commanders. So for Washington to lose 3 out of 4, and if they win this weekend, that means Washington then has to turn around and lose the next 3 out of 3. They could lose to the Niners, of course. They could lose to the Cowboys, of course. They're not losing to the Browns. I don't think it's going to happen.
I believe it's the Giants losing 3 out of 4 or Washington losing 3 out of 4.
Or?
Yes, they don't both have to happen. You need one of the two.
Well, I could still see. Well, you know what? That could happen. I think the Giants, put it this way, I think the Giants, they're done. I think the rest of I don't think they lose to the Colts, but I think they lose to Washington. I think they lose to Minnesota, and I think they lose to Philadelphia. That happens. Okay, I do see it says or. There's a little tiny word or in the middle of all of that. Okay, I see that. I just saw
the classic college depth chart move.
Yes, right.
The old or designation.
Then Seattle will lose 2 out of 4. They'll probably get beat by the Niners this weekend. They got the Chiefs. They could lose to the Jets as well. I don't think they lose to the Rams, but they could lose the next 3. Absolutely. But for the Giants to lose the next 3 out of 4, whoever wins the game between the Giants and Washington has a legitimate shot at losing 3 out of 4. But the Packers to win out, I think certainly, what's really interesting, Ben, is everybody I talked to over the last 24 hours, it's like, well, once they get past L.A., and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What makes you think they're getting past L.A.? Look, LA's a bad team. I agree with that. But we've been doing this all season long. Well, they should beat the Giants, and they didn't. Well, they should beat the Jets, and they didn't. You start looking at the teams that they were they're going to beat the Lions. And we said, well, wait a minute, because the Lions traditionally play the Packers pretty well at home. So, yeah, I'm not. That could not be an easy game for the Green Bay Packers. That could be somewhat troublesome. Well, they're going to beat Washington. They should beat Washington, no problem. And they lost. And then we knew they'd lose to the Bills. At least in the Bills game, we went, oh, maybe they found a run game. Maybe they discovered some things. And then the very next week, they come back and only put up 9 against the Lions, remember? Now, they could have beaten the Commanders. Yes. The Jets whooped their ass. They could have beaten the Giants. Yes. They could have beaten the Lions. Yes. Had it not been for 3 different red zone turnovers, 2 of which were picks. They had a shot at possibly beating Tennessee, but Tennessee just beat them in the trenches. And they played really well offensively against the Eagles. They just defense couldn't get off the damn field. So will the real Green Bay Packers please stand up? And most likely it is what your record says you are. So I'm not chalking it up as a win against the Rams coming up on Monday night. Now the Dolphins, the whole going to Florida thing, they don't win there. Remember earlier this year, it was ugly, but they knocked off Tampa Bay. They did win that game. So they won 14-12. It was an ugly game. Defensively, they played okay. Actually, they played pretty well. They only gave up 12 points against Tom Brady and company. But at the time, my God, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were so incredibly banged up, it wasn't funny. But they won. So to say they never win in Florida, they did. Could they do the sweep? So kind of the most unlikely thing to happen. That's probably going to be their stumbling block. The Vikings, I think, do also think that Lions game and that Vikings game, those 2 games, that's divisional revenge games. If they get past the next two games, the Rams and the Dolphins, and have a legitimate shot at getting in, I think the energy level changes. I think 2 weeks off and giving the quarterback time to rest and rest that thumb changes. I think getting Romeo Doubs back can change things. There is reason for optimism. Whether or not it actually happens, that's a whole other scenario. But what is your belief? I guess what we could do is put up a poll. That sounds like a poll question, doesn't it, Ben? Do you believe, with all the scenarios, the Packers can actually get themselves into the postseason? You know, then there's the sarcasm. Matt says, this is the funniest tweet I've ever seen. Oh, yeah. Well, Matt, you're an asshole. There you go. You're just an ass. All you're doing is trying to be a jerk. He's a Vikings fan, by the way. There you go. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You can hit us up. This one's from Jason. Says the hardest part of the Green Bay Packers going into the postseason will actually be getting wins. Yes, they're going to be one of the hottest teams in the NFL, but they still don't have enough weaponry to beat a really good defense, in my opinion. Ron Talk Sports says the hardest part for the playoff scenario is just simply winning out for the Green Bay Packers. Brett says, what was the best defensive performance all year? That was probably against Tampa Bay. Trevor says, having been a fully healthy wide receiving core all season long, Monday night, they will finally be. Will everybody be back on Monday night? I believe so, right?
It looks like Dobbs will.
Because Romeo Dobbs said yesterday he should be. So I would assume everybody is going to be back. And, yeah, Cobb's back, obviously. Yeah, they should have everybody back.
It's also off a bye week, so we don't get the old Matt LaFleur and the team somehow complaining about travel or the timeline or, we're playing a noon game. It's sleepy.
Right.
Which is, I feel like, persisted throughout the season.
Right. Well, I'll tell you this. If you can't come out and get up for games that you pinned your back against the wall, every game matters and every play matters. If you can't get up for that, then, you know, if I'm Gutekunst and you don't have a long-term contract, you don't belong on this team. You don't belong anywhere in the NFL for that matter. You know, you're getting paid quite a bit of money. Now, granted, it's different levels, but to go out and be competitive, to go out and with pride, to go out and play for your own contract as an independent contractor, all that stuff, you should be out doing that. And if you can't do that, then you have no business playing in the NFL. Just my opinion. 877-867-1670. This one is from Dick. Dick says, hey, Bill, way to lead off the show, making me believe and get hope. I was all confirmed that the Green Bay Packers season was pretty much over, and now I wanted to go off and do other things on Sunday. Now I can't. Well, yeah, you can, because they don't play till Monday. Ha! Ha! There you have it. I proclaimed their season dead weeks ago. The likelihood of this all happening is pretty nil, but there is a possibility. Going back to the mid portion of the season, when you were looking at, say, what the Giants were doing or Washington was doing, when you started getting into that, you thought, well, wait a minute. The Giants are for real. There's no way the Giants are going to start to falter, right? And then, sure enough, you start to look at the Giants, and you're thinking to yourself, man, they beat the Packers, they beat the Ravens, they knocked off the Jaguars. They lost a tough one to Seattle in Seattle. Then they come back against the Texans, and you're thinking to yourself, my God, this team's 7-2. Well, since then, they've lost 3, tied once. They haven't been able to put up a win since. And the team they just tied 20-20 with a couple of weeks ago, they've got them. They're staring down the barrel of them again, but at their place this time, coming up this weekend. Then they've got a pretty tough Vikings team, even though everybody believes the Vikings. The Vikings, I believe, are a better version of New York. They're a good team. They're not a great team. Most people look at them while they're going to be. Now, if it wasn't for the Eagles running away with the division, then you'd probably look and say, okay, which one's the less paper champion in the East? You'd probably say the Cowboys. But I don't think anybody believes that the Giants are a legitimate threat, much like the Vikings. But they do play the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a better team. They play the Vikings actually at US Bank Stadium. Tough place to play. Then they get the Colts at home. Well, they should win that game. But then their next the 3 tough games the Giants have to play, too, are all on the road. They play at Washington, at Minnesota, and at Philadelphia. So it's likely, knowing what we know and seeing what we've seen, that they lose down the stretch, that they lose 3 of their next 4. It's likely. So that scenario becomes real, right? And then you look at the Commanders and you say, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to necessarily get the job done either. But then again, if they get a win over the Giants, and they have to lose the next 3. Now, they go on the road to San Francisco to play the 49ers and the resurging Brock Purdy. So you could say, that's a tough one. They could very well lose that game. They're not losing at home to Cleveland. I just don't believe that. And then the Cowboys come a-calling. And the Cowboys, I don't think the Cowboys are going to be fighting for anything other than maybe a position. They could be fighting with Minnesota at that point for the second, the overall second in the NFC playoff-wise in seeding. But I think the Cowboys will still beat Washington. So the Washington Commanders could still win that thing, because I don't think they're going to lose to the Browns. They could lose 2, but I don't think they lose 3 of their next 4. You know what I mean? So it's up to the Packers. Packers have a legitimate chance. And I mentioned Seattle before, and we were talking about, the schedule and the way things are going to be playing out. And you look at Seattle and what Seattle has to do they have to lose 2 of their next 4. And they've got the 49ers coming into their place this weekend, but then they go on the road to take on the Chiefs. 3 of their next 4 are at home, though. The Jets then come into town. If they beat the 49ers, chances are they could still lose 2 out of their next 3. They could lose to the Chiefs and lose to the Jets, but I don't think they lose to the Rams. And the Rams game's actually in Seattle. Now, who knows? Maybe the Rams get a resurgence because of Baker Mayfield and he starts to feel it or something, but I kind of doubt it. But there you go. Could it happen? Sure, it could. The likelihood of it, I don't know if the Packers have it in them to win out. So there you go. That's it. That's your scenario. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. 877-867-1670. You want to find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find Ben Kenny at Ben Z Kenny, at Ben Z Kenny. You can also find us on the Facebook fan page. Go to facebook.com/The Bill Michaels Show. We're on YouTube under The Bill Michaels Show. You can find us on Twitch TV. You can find us on all the podcasts, which is Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts as well. The website, thebillmichaels.com. That's thebillmichaels.com. Find us over there. Let's do this. We're going to step away, take a quick break. We're going to come back, get back into all of this. If you are a believer or not, which I don't think most of you are, but, we'll see. And then kind of go from there. Going to hear a little bit from Luke Fickell today, some from Aaron Rodgers yesterday. They had a light practice yesterday. They get back at it again tomorrow. So then their regular kind of work week begins. Instead of doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they're going to do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, getting in preparation for the Monday night contest. So they'll be back at it again tomorrow. We've got Mark Schofield coming up from SB Nation. We'll talk a lot of NFL overall with him and get his thoughts on the scenario for the Green Bay Packers. Don't forget, coming up tonight, we are on the road. We're at Stenny's, Second and National, Walker's Point. We're going to be there for the Bill Michaels Huddle tonight, 6 to 8. It is brought to you by Bud Light. Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the Bill Michaels Sports Talk Network. But come on down tonight. Great wings. Really, really good wings. The Bill Michaels Garlic Cheese Bread is going to be going, and we're going to have a lot of fun down there this evening.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
We're going to head down Calderon Club. Going to grab really good, the best Italian food you're ever going to have. Going to have some Italian, see Gino, kind of familia type of thing. Just enjoy ourselves down there. Wash it down with the cider boys that they have from Point, and just sit back, relax. Maybe even a glass of wine. Who knows? But I'm just looking forward to a relaxing Friday night. Get down there about 7. Sit at the end of the bar. Watch what's ever on the tube. Just enjoy it. Cannot wait. Just coming up on Friday night. Saturday night, got some dinner with some friends. We just saw, but we're just going to kind of go out, a couple of couples, and go enjoy, some holiday festivities. But Friday night, nothing. It's just breathe. Just do nothing. Looking forward to it. Sunday, wake up, not a thing. I can't wait. It's a relaxing weekend coming up. But I encourage you, like I'm doing, San Giorgio and Calderon Club, Old World 3rd Street, downtown Milwaukee. Terrific Italian food. You want the really good, authentic Napolitana style pizzeria, you go to San Giorgio. You go over there, you order from Robin, and they make it right there, and it's personal, and it's so awesome. Or you go next door and you do the sit down. You can do the spaghetti and meatballs. You can do the spicy sashina. You can do the chicken marsala is out of this world. But if you combine it and you say, I want the Bill Michaels, Alex knows. They put it together for you. A little more expensive, but it is like heaven in a bowl. It's fantastic. But 2 great places. And tell Gino we said hi if you get down there during the holiday season. Plus, you get to go downtown. You check out the lights a little bit. I know it's going to cool down, but check out the holiday lights. Everything that's up downtown. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Ron says Vikings defense trash. Rye says, should the Packers win 9 straight, they would be the NFL champions. There you go. By the way, Kevin says the term rectal orifice is probably more user-friendly. Yeah, I know. That's okay. Brett says, I'm going to be at Lambo on Monday night. I pray that this team shows up with possibly in the digits. Lucky. We really have. Even going back to last year, we didn't have a lot of really freezing cold games. We have not had I still every year that we don't have to have that game where I leave the press box to go to the post-game show, wherever we're going. You leave the press box, you go downstairs, you run outside, and when the door opens, the wind coming around, usually from the west or the southwest, that is that bitter, cold, harsh, or even that northeast wind or northwest wind. You come out of because of the doors we come out, it's on the west side. You come out of that door and that wind hits you, and that is that freezing, oh my God, where you're taking your long overcoat and you're putting it up around your chin to keep the wind out from, getting around your neck and down into your shirt. We have not had that, knock on wood, lately. We haven't endured that. So I can take cold. It's when you add the wind into it, that's just brutal, unless of course you're like dressed for it, wearing a snowsuit or something like that. But you don't wear that up in the press box. You're wearing regular clothes with a coat, but then it makes that walk that much longer, haven't had that in a while. So I don't ever hope for bitter cold temperatures. You know why? Rodgers, as Brett Favre aged, he didn't handle it very well. Rodgers has not looked good in cold weather. There's something about being younger and going, I got this, whatever, bring it on. And then as you get old, it's like, man, it's cold out today, isn't it? Here we go. Oh man, I got to look like a young guy, but I'm freezing my butt off out here, So there you go. By the way, David says tickets for the Monday night game on Ticketmaster as low as $35. Fan confidence very low for what it's worth. No, I understand that. And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
$35 plus $50 in processing fees.
Yeah, it's
and
the
another $20.
Yeah, it's the Taylor Swift fee, I think, is what they have, something like that. Yeah, I don't ever go through Ticketmaster. If the only place to get tickets are at Ticketmaster, I won't go. I don't do it. Ticketmaster's pathetic. The fees that they add for just crap is ridiculous. And everybody's on to them now, and they're a monopoly, and nobody's doing anything about it. And so what I've just done is every time there's something that I want to see and I look and there it is on Ticketmaster, I write a note to the promoter and say, not going because you're with Ticketmaster. Talk to you later. And they look at me and go, who cares? We're sold out. It doesn't matter. Screw you. I say, okay, that's fine. You won't get my money. I save it and stay at home. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Let's go to Derek, listening to us in Albany, New York. Derek, how you doing today, man? What's up?
Hey, Bill, normally in Albany, I'm in Schenectady today to do some shopping in my area.
Perfect.
And get going before the time. They call me at your earlier show. WDUZ calls me Derek in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had three quick. Yeah, my zip. Well, that's what they call me because that's my zip code is within a half a mile of that. But GE General Electric is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's
right,
half a mile from me. I live in a neighborhood, Bill, that's the oldest continuously lived in neighborhood in the United States. It's called the Stockade. It's really old. It's a really old neighborhood.
I think I've actually heard of that.
Yeah, it's the oldest continuously lived in neighborhood in the United States. It's kind of a cross between Greenwich Village and Cape Cod. It's an interesting place.
I really don't care.
I know. One-way streets are terrible. I know people don't care. But anyway, Bill, I had 3 quick things for you, and then one of your callers gave me an idea for a fourth, and I will be quick with this. He said if we win 9 games in a row, we're NFL champions. If we were to win 9 games in a row, Bill, I'm going to tell you what crazy thing could happen. I think Aaron Rodgers, if we did that, he walks away at that point. Because, somebody say, well, why would he walk away from $50-something million? Because he gets so many endorsements from doing that, he wouldn't have to. So that's my other point. The Washington team. Bill, if Washington wins, the problem with them winning is then they'd have to lose the next 3. They have to lose 3 in a row. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, should we root for the Giants or Washington? It's just one of them has to lose 3 out of 4.
Right.
So I don't think it matters. And I was at the Jets game. I was at that game in Green Bay. And I know you're saying the Jets killed us, but it wasn't the case. We had exact total yards as they did, and we had one more first down than they did. Mm-hmm. They just made plays. They blocked the punt for a touchdown, and they had an end around or some crazy play. but that's how we lost the game.
Yeah,
And the
but
last thing is, Bill,
wait. But defensively up front, they whooped the ass of the Green Bay Packers. When they needed to make plays and continue a drive, they couldn't do it. The Jets defense dominated that line of scrimmage.
I'm nodding my head in agreement on that because I was there watching it. And here's my fourth thing. This would be, you got a good sense of humor, Bill, kind of a goofy sense of humor now and then, which I really like. How about a great Saturday night live bit? You could do it for any team in any situation. Well, let's do it for tomorrow night's game, 49ers and Seahawks. You know, it's pregame, and the coach is trying to get people fired up, and he's like, do you know how important this is for the Green Bay Packers? It's really important for them. You know,
Right.
You can do it for in any situation. You know, it's important. You know, it's important for this, you know, the Jets on Sunday. It's important for us to beat the Detroit Lions because it really helps the Packers. And we want to be in this holiday season. We want to be altruistic.
Yep. No, I get it.
funny.
Yeah. No, I could see that happening. I could see the Mannings doing it, for God's sakes, on a Manning
Oh,
cast.
God.
Yes.
Somebody get a tweet out to them to do that. I think it'd be hysterical.
Yep. All right.
All right, Bill.
Appreciate it, bud. Thanks for listening to us in Schenectady. No. You're just killing people over there. You're the button killing people. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. You want to hit us up? Do it. Again, 877-867-1670. This one is from the Raging AZ, who says, imagine how pissed the haters would be if it actually worked out and the Packers went to the playoffs. Oh, they'd be gone. AZ, they'd be gone. The one thing I have learned about the world of social media is it is filled with cowards and people with zero character. Zero. Here's the thing. We sit here every day and we preach it, pontificate it, we break it down, we give you our thoughts, our opinions, statistics, the whole thing, and we try to back up our argument with what it is and then what it is you think, and then we can either change our minds or give you the reason why that won't happen or why we think that won't happen or agree to disagree, whatever. Okay. And we're here. So then the next day, if it happens, we come on and we go, okay, you know, whatever, move on. And we look like we have some semblance of credibility, or we're wrong. And we come on and go, blew that one, you know, didn't get that one right. And we move on from there. We explain what happened and where we went wrong and everything else. People on social media, they are so ballless. No character. None at all. None at all. The vile things and the stuff that people say and tweet and post and email and such. And a lot of times they don't even email you from a real email address because they're too cowardly. They would never, ever say to you in public. They would never say it to your face. They never do. I have had, I just 23 years of just in this state alone. In this state alone, I have had some of the worst things ever said to me. You know, even that's prior to my career when it was in Ohio. I've never had one person say anything to me in public. Never. Not once. So there is a ton of Twitter cowards with no character, and they will never come back. They'll never come back and go, you were right. I was wrong, or boy, there was a chance. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying, here's the facts of what could possibly happen. You know, what could possibly go right for the Green Bay Packers that they could find themselves in the postseason. There's something to that. But beyond that, there's nothing else. It's not like I'm saying it's going to happen. But you know what? You have to live on a little bit of hope, right? The fan in me wants it to happen. The person that's relatively sensible says, it could, but the likelihood of it is it won't, because my reliability factor would come from the Green Bay Packers winning out, and I don't think they can do that. And am I doubting them? Yes. I get the Packers fans say, how can you doubt our team? Doesn't mean I'm not rooting for them. It means that I can't unsee what I've seen. I can't unsee that pathetic performance in Detroit. I can't unsee that pathetic performance in London. I can't unsee them getting whipped up front by the New York Jets at home. I can't unsee that pathetic game against the Washington Commanders. I can't unsee that. I can't unsee bad passes. I can't unsee missed tackles. I can't unsee drop balls. I can't unsee it. It has been a pathetic display of football pretty much up until, you want to say, maybe late in the game against the Bears. It's been a bad season of ugly, unfundamental, poor football. You can't unsee it. So is there a chance? Sure there is. Maybe it just clicks after the break. But no. There you go. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. We'd love to hear from you. More on the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, 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 I need new windows.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later. Ho, ho.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sure, with the Monty code for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, Bill Michaels Show. We continue on, and good to have you. If you are looking for a getaway, something to do, New Year's Eve and such, or just maybe, a holiday getaway, even after the new year, check out our friends at the Four Seasons Island Resort. They are in Pembine, Wisconsin. Up on the beautiful Muscano Island. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a really cool place. And it was good to see Barb and her husband Steve. They came down for the weekend and spent some time down here for the party this past weekend. But they have a really cool New Year's Eve party going on in Pembine. They have got wine tastings. They've got a chocolate festival coming up in January. They got so much going on. Check out the4seasonswisconsin.com. That's the4seasonswisconsin.com. But if you get a hold of Barb and you tell her you heard it here, you got automatically 15% off your room. That's the way we've been doing it. Because before they were giving you something special. They gave you either a meal or a bottle of wine, and which is nice. But if it's a $15 bottle of wine, it's, if you get, $150 for a room, we'd rather give you more money off the room. You know what I mean? So get a hold of it. And I don't know what the room costs are, but I'm just giving you an example. But get a hold of Barb, 715-324-5800. That's 715-324-5800. And tell them you're with us, and they'll give you the discount. Or just get a hold of her at Barb, B-A-R-B, at the4seasonswisconsin.com. Barb at the4seasonswisconsin.com. As a matter of fact, we're going to be heading up there probably in January. Hopefully, we're talking about Packers playoffs at that point, but probably in January at some point. So there you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Tom says, don't forget when you say you can't unsee things, he says you can't unsee what Joe Barry hasn't brought to the team, which that's a very good point. Can't unsee what Joe Barry has not brought to the team. Phil says Packers went out and make the playoffs, and then what? There is no way they win the Super Bowl or even make it that far. And if you think that they're going to get a ring, this is the reason marijuana should be illegal for folks. No, Phil, I'm not saying that. But you have to admit that if they win out, they will have won 5 straight. They will have beaten 2 relatively good teams to get there. and they will be one of the hottest teams in the National Football League going into the postseason. Short of, say, if Philadelphia wins out, right? You can't, ignore that. And let's just say, okay. And let me play. I'm gonna be the positive Pete at this minute. This is my thought, okay, and I want to see if you agree with this or not. Okay, here's a thought here. So, at the beginning of the season, going back to the beginning of the season, short of Rashawn Gary going down with a season-ending injury and Stokes being down for quite some time with that ankle, okay. At the beginning of this season, we thought, Ben, am I wrong? We thought the defense would be better, right? I think so.
Yes.
We thought it would be better. We thought the offense, they'll get by without Devontae. It'll take a while. They'll use Tanyan more, the running backs more. But once Bakhtiari comes back, the offensive line gets settled, Elton Jenkins is good, all of that, they'll be okay, right? We thought that too. And then we thought, they bring in Rich Bisaccia, and the special teams are going to get better. I think we all agreed upon that. Now, we found a kick returner in Keyshawn Nixon. The field goals, while anything beyond 50 isn't necessarily splitting the uprights, but for the most part, everything else has been pretty good. Coverage has not been bad, right? Coverage has been okay. O'Donnell has been really solid as a punter. He's maybe had, one gaff, two gaffes all season long. Hasn't been that bad, right? Okay. So for everything we've talked about, if by chance, let's say, the defense does get better, fundamentally, they just get better. Fundamentally, they just tackle. Savage comes back and plays better. And, with the thought of possibly making it to the postseason, knowing your backs are against the wall and every game's a must win, but there's a chance, suddenly you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And there's a different pep in your step. You're just a half step quicker, which means it's not an arm tackle. It means you're getting your shoulder into somebody now, right? There's a little more energy. There's a little more, oh my God, we couldn't have sucked any worse if we had to at the beginning of the season. And we still got a shot. Let's do this. Maybe it begins to materialize. And maybe Joe Barry gets a little more aggressive defensively and stops playing 10 yards back on a 3rd and 6. Maybe that happens. Now, maybe monkeys fly out of my ass. That could happen too. But I think the likelihood of the Packers getting better versus the monkeys are probably more, more of a percentage-wise in favor of the Green Bay Packers.
You sure?
I was rolling there, man. So, but you see what I'm saying? It could be better. It could happen. So if that happens, and the team that we thought we had at the beginning of the year, which hasn't shown up, but starts to show up at the end of the year, because remember, they could have won against Detroit. They could have beaten the Giants. Those 2 wins alone, and they're sitting in the postseason. And you're still sitting here with hope going, you know what? This team isn't so bad. We can't unsee some of this stuff. But I'm just trying to say, okay, here's the positive Pete. That's all I'm saying. That if indeed you look at it that way and you say, not bad. Positive Pete in me. Here it is. Could the Packers do this going into the postseason? You would probably say, okay, let's say the team second in the standings, which behind the Eagles at this point, would be the Minnesota Vikings. Well, okay, let's hold off on that for a minute. Because if Minnesota wins the North, if San Francisco gets a couple more wins, God forbid they end up playing San Francisco, but you'd play it in a warm weather, or you'd play Minnesota in a dome, or you play Tampa Bay there. But if the Packers are the last team in, they at this point in time would face Minnesota in Minnesota. Now, we all know things can go horrifically wrong there. Understand. Would you rather play Minnesota or would you rather play the number 1 ranked defense in the San Francisco 49ers? I think I'd rather play Minnesota. I'd rather play Minnesota there, to be quite honest with you. So, are they winning a Super Bowl? No. 95.999%, 99.9% says no. But if they beat Minnesota, who knows? Who knows? Stop with the 2010. Remember, they had to beat the Giants and the Bears to get in, and once they did, they were the hottest team in football. But they had look at the weapons they had, and they also had the Defensive Player of the Year, and they had a steady pass rush on the outside and Clay Matthews. They got the best season ever out of A.J. Hawk, and they were running through opposite outside linebackers like they were water. And they also had a rotation of 5 big bodies up front that were just good. They were beasts. They were winning in the trenches, which then allowed Charles Woodson and Nick Collins and Tremont Williams and Sam Shields and everybody else that was in the secondary to really capitalize on that. They don't have that. They got to get it done in different ways. They got to just hold it off. And they don't have the same weaponry. They don't have Greg and Donald and Jermichael and Jordy and Donald and everybody else that they had. They don't have all of that. I think I said Donald twice. They don't have that. The onus would be on Aaron Rodgers to get them there. I don't think they can. But to get to the postseason, to garner your interest, to make this season feel better, yeah,
Brief counterpoint.
Yes.
What if they do all that, and because they made the playoffs and went on a semi-impressive run, a little bit impressive, no one gets fired. Joe Barry comes back, they run it back, no improvements are made.
Then it would be one of the dumbest things they could ever do. It really would be. Now, my question would be, are you winning because of or in spite of? Because you'd have to ask that question.
I would assume in spite of.
But again, we can't unsee what the first point, because you think to yourself, okay, had they played better defense, had they been more fundamentally sound, had they actually decided to press man and play a little bit more aggressively early on in the season, would they have been a barely eking in seed, or would they have been maybe a 2 seed? Could they have won the division? Could they have done more? There's no way you can unsee what Joe Barry has done. There's no way. And if you keep Joe Barry, you'd have to be an absolute idiot. And I think Matt LaFleur would lose a ton of credibility with his fan base. And it would also be, how do you win games? Say you flip-flop the score against the Eagles. 40-33 in favor of the Green Bay Packers. Well, we're still looking at a team that put up 33 in the Packers because the defense was terrible. It's a win, but the defense couldn't stop anybody. It doesn't change the fact that the defense has been bad. And I think more, and I know people don't want to hear this, as much as I think Joe Barry and some of his lack of aggression is to be at fault, I also look at the trenches and think they just don't have it. They don't have it. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show and a lot of good talk today. Good stuff coming up today. Hang in there. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers had a light workout yesterday. Safety Darnell Savage was back from his foot injury. So was linebacker Kingsley Enagbare, injured in the Bears game. The only player missing, David Bakhtiari, still recovering from surgery after having his appendix removed. Head coach Matt LaFleur on how first-year player Zach Tom has done, filling in a left guard, sometimes on short notice.
Zach has been super reliable, which is really cool to see, especially a rookie going in. It was nice that we had at least a little bit of time to prepare for it, but it's unfortunate for Dave. Certainly, he was bummed. And I think Dave's been playing some really good ball.
In L.A., the Rams quarterback John Wolford has a neck injury and will be out Monday night. That means Baker Mayfield will start against the Packers. Mayfield says the turnover of coaches he went through at the Browns and Panthers may have helped him in his emergency fill-in for the Rams.
You know, I used to not necessarily complain about the fact that I had that many different offensive systems and having to learn that, but it came in handy when having to learn a crash course and being able to relate certain things. And, you know, Sean's protection scheme is similar to Bill Callahan's, who I had in Cleveland. So that knocks out a big chunk of the learning curve, and just trying to learn all the motions and the terminology for that.
Aaron Rodgers was on the McAfee show and says what Baker Mayfield did in that win over the Raiders was unique.
I think you got to look at that game as an outlier. The fact that Baker played, the fact that they had to score twice in the fourth quarter to win. They went on a 90-some-yard drive to win the game. Pretty impressive.
Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
So they collaborated. Next thing you know, done. Got it done. Reasonable price, all that kind of stuff. Fantastic stuff. And get a hold of my buddy Dwayne at Dwayne's Cover It All. 715-870-2119.
1 hour down. We have got 3 more yet to go. Coming up a little bit, Mark Schofield, SB Nation, going to be joining us. We'll chat with him, talk a little NFL, get his thoughts on the likelihood or unlikelihood of the Packers making a run. Stay tuned. A whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin football's new coach, Luke Fickell, was on the podium yesterday talking what's important for his team right now, and that's the bowl game, the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, December 27th against Oklahoma State.
What's most important is getting prepared for Oklahoma State, finish this thing out the right way for a lot of guys within this program, the seniors being first and foremost. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of things to do, but I'm excited about what we have done, going to do.
Yesterday also saw the Badgers dip into Washington for its latest recruit in the class of 2023. That would be three-star tight end Tucker Ashcraft, who had been committed to Colorado until the school hired Deion Sanders as coach earlier this month, now is coming to Madison. Coming back to the field for the Green Bay Packers will be wide receiver Romeo Doubs. For the first time since early in the season, the Green and Gold could be with a full complement of wide receivers, as Doubs expects to be back against the LA Rams for Monday Night Football at Lambeau Field.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Last night, Giannis Antetokounmpo finished with a game-high 30 points and 12 rebounds as the Milwaukee Bucks now have won 8 of their last 10 games, beating the Golden State Warriors at the Pfizer Forum 128-111. The Bucks, who sit second in the Eastern Conference with a record of 20-7, are back at it tomorrow night in Memphis against the Grizzlies. And finally, tomorrow night, Wisconsin basketball will host Lehigh at the Kohl Center for a 6 o'clock tip. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Bill Michaels Show, off and running on a Wednesday. Don't forget, coming up later on today, the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up later on today at 6 o'clock. So 6 to 8 later on this evening. Go ahead and give us a shout. Mark Schofield, SB Nation, joining us on the hotline. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Bill. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's interesting because we're sitting here talking about the scenarios in which the Green Bay Packers can find themselves in the postseason. And you talk about the Giants or Washington losing the next 3 out of 4, which is not out of the realm of possibility, depending on who wins this game and loses this game between these two teams coming up this weekend. Obviously, then Seattle has to lose a couple, and the Packers have to win out. Did the Packers, in your opinion, find anything in the game against?
Did the Packers find anything in the game against the Chicago Bears?
As we talked about last week, I think there are things that are notable from that game and have been notable over the past couple of weeks. Their ability to, at times, create some explosive plays in the passing game. Their ability to sort of generate some offense. That's been a big question for this team, really, over the course of the season. And their ability to do that, I think, could help them down the stretch. I think also when you look back at the Packers, over the past couple of weeks, certainly that game against Chicago, now it might have to do with the offense that they were going up against, but defense looked a little bit better than we've seen from them in weeks past. And so that could also give them a pathway to perhaps winning out, like you said, they need to. And going into this game Monday night, the Rams are in an interesting situation because they certainly need a win to keep their, albeit extremely slim, playoff hopes alive, but they also need some results in the games around the NFL as well. And they might find out, by Sunday afternoon that they're eliminated. And so that certainly helps Green Bay going forward. But it is a narrow path that they have. And it might be just a question of, while they still have a path right now, it might be all the answers that they found to the questions that have been vexed in them over the past couple of months. They might have found those answers a little bit too late.
The Philadelphia Eagles, they get in Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. They shore up their run defense, which has been proven over the last couple of games. Are they really the most complete team in the NFC? Because I think Minnesota is somewhat of a paper champion. San Francisco still, as much as we like Purdy, even though they got a great defense. Deebo Samuel's down. We're not sure if Purdy's the answer. Tampa Bay as a division leader, we all know Tampa Bay's not that good. Dak Prescott with Dallas can win you a game or lose you a game just as easily. The Giants are kind of a paper champion. Washington, I don't think they're ready to fly yet. I mean, is it just Philadelphia and everybody else?
I think so. And, the idea that the Eagles are such a complete team, it shows up in a number of different ways. Like you said, Bill, their run defense was a problem a couple of weeks ago. Brendan Joseph and Sue helps. Getting Jordan Davis back certainly helps. But I really love offensively the different ways they can beat you. And we've seen that over the past couple of weeks, right? You look at that game against Green Bay. When Green Bay was struggling to stop the run, they ran the ball extremely well in that game because they knew, look, this is our best pathway to win. The next week against Tennessee, much better run defense, but a defense that has struggled in the past game. They lead into throwing the football. You look last week against New York Giants, some questions in the downfield coverage from the New York Giants. What do? They attack downfield in the passing game. Anytime an NFL offense has more than one way to beat you, you're in a very good spot as an NFL offense, as an NFL team, because you think about what defensive coordinators want to do. Talking to people like Bill Belichick, and they always say, look, we want to make you fight with one arm behind your back. We want to take away what you do best. And so if you're a one-dimensional offense, that can work in the regular season. That can work perhaps a game or two in the postseason. But if you want to make a deep run, you better be able to, if they try to take away what you do best, you're going to be able to fight with that one arm tied behind your back because the other one is pretty darn good at what it does. Look at the Vikings. Like you mentioned, we've scratched our heads about the Vikings all season long. Back to the summer, Bill. Detroit on Sunday, they shut down their running game. And yes, Kirk Cousins had a fantastic game throwing the ball, and Justin Jefferson is a tremendous talent, but they weren't able to win the game because they took away what the Vikings perhaps do best or want to lean into offensively. The Eagles have that ability. If you want to take away their run game, they can beat you throwing the ball. If you want to take away their short passing game and screen game, they can throw it deep. If you want to take away the pass game, they can lead into the run. The most complete team, certainly in the NFC, and if not, perhaps the entire NFL.
The AFC, we all thought Buffalo was going to be the team to beat, and they're back to 10 wins, and they've got the tiebreaker right now over Kansas City in the head-to-head win percentage. Kansas City, they're getting it done. Patrick Mahomes having a hell of a season. You get to the AFC North, and Baltimore has won 6 of their last 7. Cincinnati has won 7 of their last 8. Give me your thoughts on those two teams. I don't necessarily look at Tennessee or Miami even, as Tua has struggled here as of late. I don't look at a lot of those teams and say, boy, you got a lot of worry there about who is going to beat either Kansas City or Buffalo going into the Super Bowl. I look at Baltimore, I look at Cincinnati as the two teams as legitimate threats.
Yeah, and I think the focus is probably on Cincinnati right now. We're waiting on word about Lamar Jackson, who obviously missed last week. He's got the PCL sprain. You wonder about his health over the next couple of weeks and what that could do for Baltimore. Provided he's healthy, obviously they're a dangerous team because of what he can do at the position and the problems he can cause opposing defenses. But I really think you look at Cincinnati right now and what, Bill, they've figured out over the past couple of weeks, both in the run game and the pass game. Back in October when they had their bad start, 2-3, and they couldn't figure out too high coverages, and they were really struggling to come up with answers to those questions when defenses would show them too high, how they were going to be able to attack them and break them down in the pass game. They've certainly figured that out. Since then, Joe Burrow has been fantastic, one of the best in the NFL. when faced with two high coverages. And of course, when you go to single high, what can they do? You've got T. Higgins, Jamar Chase on the outside. They love those back shoulder throws, which are so hard to defend anyway. But, when you're in man coverage single high, it's almost impossible to defend those with the chemistry Burrow has with those two receivers. They figured out both an under center and a shotgun run game, because that was another one of their problems early in the year. They were very transparent schematically. If Burrow they were going to shot throw, they didn't have tendency breakers. They had figured out some of those as well. Hendrickson's injury is an interesting thing to watch, because that's a big part of what they do defensively. But Lou Amorano has figured out, certainly with what he's done against Patrick Mahomes over their past couple of meetings, slowing down that Chiefs offense. You can sort of see some carryover perhaps if they face the Buffalo Bills in the postseason. And so because of how they've looked, how they've done it, and perhaps most importantly, how they've figured out answers to their most vexing questions, I really like where the Bengals are right now.
I want to go back to talking about the Kansas City Chiefs here for a minute. And Patrick Mahomes just continues to get it done in many different ways. Don't get me wrong. You got Travis Kelce, and it's always great to have that giant safety net that has the athleticism to be able to put it into the end zone. But the fact that he has made something of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, they don't have this all-star, like superstar talent on the outside, but it's like everything they do works. Is it just because the combination of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and the relationship and the understanding and utilizing the talent that they have, is that what makes them so good?
I think so. And, this organization deserves a ton of credit for how they've constructed their offense and how they've adapted their offense, certainly over the past couple of years, but into this season. Because if you think back to where we were in August with a lot of questions about, when you look at the AFC West, we all thought, I was on every show, every time I came on with you, Bill, I said, oh, that AFC West is fantastic. But here we are again, and the Chiefs are on the cusp of another AFC West title. The questions we had about the Chiefs in relation to the rest of the teams in that division was basically, how are they going to generate explosive plays? They lost Tyreek Hill. How are they going to generate explosive plays offensively? Well, they put their players in a position to be successful. They put, formations and use of personnel, and they leaned into 3 tight end packages at times to create some favorable matchups when some of those receivers were banged up. They do such a good job at adapting their offense, not just season to season, not just game to game, but sometimes drive to drive. They figure out, oh, this is what a team is doing. This is what they're doing when we show this formation. This is what they're doing when we show this motion. And they figured that out so quickly. And it certainly doesn't hurt that you have Patrick Mahomes, who, Bill, like you said, just finds ways to get it done. Flip passes, no-look passes. He's such a talent at the position. And so you combined what Reid and Bieniemy scheme up. You combine the talent that they have in Patrick Mahomes' hands. It makes for such a dangerous combination. Now, if they see Cincinnati again, they'll have to figure some stuff out, because like we just talked about, they seem to have some answers for KC. But other teams still struggle with them, and it makes them such a formidable opponent.
There's going over to the NFC or the AFC, excuse me. I really like what Tennessee brings to the table. I just don't think they have enough weaponry to get it done. I like the fact that they play discipline. They don't have a ton of stars. I mean, obviously Derrick Henry, once he gets, but you know what? Teams have just said, hey, if you take down Derrick Henry and make Tannehill one-dimensional, he's not the guy to beat you. So as much as I like Tennessee going into this season as the 4 seed, I don't think they last very long. Do you?
No, I don't. And it sort of gets back to the conversation around the Eagles, right? Because, that idea of if you're, a defensive coordinator, and you see them, say, for example, the Patriots somehow sneak in and there's a matchup between the Patriots and the Titans at some point in the playoffs. Bill Belichick is going to say, we're going to stop Derrick Henry. We're going to make Ryan Tannehill beat us, and Tennessee right now, over this course of the season, they haven't shown that if a game is put into Tannehill's hands, he has the ability and perhaps the weapons around him to win football games. Treylon Burks has had some nice moments, but it just seems like if they're forced into a shootout or if they're forced to be a one-dimensional passing team, that's going to be where they struggle. Now, what they do offensively, the way they could run the football, it might be enough to get them a win. But I think like last year, even when they were the first overall seed in the AFC, there's just questions about if it comes down to a Ryan Tannehill game, if the game is put into his hands, is he going to be able to deliver, or are we going to see what we saw last year in that divisional game where He threw 3 interceptions, and he had a chance to win that game, even with the first 2 late in the game, and he throws his third. And so when you think about complete teams, they are certainly not on that list. It might be enough to win them a game, maybe 2, but even that I'm hard-pressed to see.
Before I let you go, you got the game coming up on Monday night, going back to the Packers. Packers coming off of the bye. Aaron Rodgers, thumb heals up and gets the extra week. I'm not saying they have this run in them. I know at the beginning of the season, though, we thought this defense would be better. Now, granted, they've lost Rashawn Gary. Stokes has been down for quite some time. The fundamentals of the inability to tackle has been a nemesis to this team. But if this team gives us a semblance of what they thought they would be, do they have that capability? Is there any hope for them to win out?
I mean, there's certainly hope for them to win out. I mean, and it starts, like you said, Monday night against a team that, just signed a new quarterback, that might find out on Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, and look, their slim playoff hopes are gone, have been dashed by the combination of results around them. So I think that, yes, that certainly helps. You look at the remainder of the schedule after that game, just one road game. That's at Miami against a team that, like you said, you mentioned it earlier, defenses might have figured out some things over the past couple of weeks against the Dolphins. You look at that game Sunday night, the Chargers, they played more press man coverage, try to get in those receivers' faces a bit. Yes, Hill, Waddle, they're fast, but if you take away an early read, or you take away the ability for Tua Tagovailoa to just throw to a spot against zone coverage, you can slow them down a bit. And then after that game, 2 more home games against the Minnesota team that we sort of talked about, Paper Tigers. Detroit's come on, certainly. You give them a lot of credit. There's a window for them to win out. There certainly is that pathway for them. Started Monday night against a team that kind of locked things down a bit. So having this late bye might actually, like you said, Rodgers is rested up, healed up. It could really pan out for them. There's still a shot. There's still hope in Green Bay.
Mark, always good to talk to you, buddy. I look forward to next week, and who knows, maybe we're talking about a lot more hope regarding the Green Bay Packers and their fan base. Okay, appreciate it.
Sounds good, my friend. Hope is a powerful thing. We'll talk next week.
Right, I know. Talk to you soon. There you go. Mark Schofield, SB Nation. You can find him at Mark Schofield, Schofield, at Mark Schofield over on Twitter. You can find him over there. Good stuff. There's a couple things here. When we were talking about San Francisco being a complete team, and Matt said, "Oh, come on, LOL." No, Deebo Samuel's down at least the next 3 to 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. Purdy has been an energizing, terrific story, but a game and a half doesn't make you a playoff contending quarterback. It makes you a guy that has got a couple of emotional wins. And now we see what you can do the rest of the way, because he's going to be the guy that takes the team the rest of the way. It's like people that overreact after 2 drives with Jordan Love. Oh, you got to see him. He's dynamite. You got to see him. Well, no, he's 2 drives. Be realistic. Could he play that way? Sure he could. But you don't know. But don't act like he's that. Because what he has shown you up until this point, the majority of what he has shown you has not been good. He gave you 2 drives. Enjoy that. And hopefully he builds upon that. But I try to look at that in a very realistic light. And when you take Deebo Samuel off that offense, you still have Kittle and company. I agree. But you got it. The onus goes more to Purdy. I just want to see what Purdy can do. They've got a terrific defense. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. But no, I think Purdy is a great story. But am I going to throw him all of a sudden as one of the top quarterbacks coming into the postseason, and he creates the most balance for the San Francisco 49ers? No, you'd be stupid to do that. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. By all means, this portion of the program brought to you by our good friends over there at Pindell, a quality machining manufacturing company. They are based right here in Wisconsin. Good company to work for, too. I've known a few people that have gone there. They've gotten trained. They went from the mechanical side of things to the robotic side of things. They got trained on it. They love it. They enjoy it. They get some great benefits and above average pay. And that's what it's all about. And they started actually building their life moving forward from that. So if you're looking for a terrific company to work for, that is Pindell, Pindel.com, Pindell.com. Or if you're looking for a great company to work with, say you need machining parts and such here in the state of Wisconsin or within the sound of my voice, That's another reason to look into it. Go to Pindell.com, Pindel.com, Pindell.com. Stay tuned. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Rachel says to me, hey, Bill, love the enthusiasm. There is nothing wrong with a Packers fan having hope. I think we all want to have hope. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. Every year we start the season with hope that our team can win a championship, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, or anything else for that matter. We do it in life every day. We live vicariously through our teams and our communities, and we all come together because of it. Those who want to stomp on that dream only want to point the finger because 99% of them are going to be right, and they want to prove to themselves and everyone else that they're right. It's those who step out on the ledge and say, I'll take a chance, that actually have some success that you respect a little bit more. I'm not saying if the Packers are going to win or win out or if they're going to win a Super Bowl. I'm just simply saying I enjoy listening to the
Both argument. There is nothing wrong with presenting the facts, saying that if the Packers win and these other scenarios happen, that the Packers can end up in the postseason, because it's not a prediction to win a Super Bowl, which is true. Rachel, appreciate the email. Appreciate it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Good to have you. Let's see here. Mark over in the Bud Light live stream says the Packers have to get by Detroit, and if the Pack keep playing like they are, it won't happen. Which, you'd be right. That's what I said. Is like, look, I'm not sitting here saying they're making it to the postseason. What I'm saying is that here's what could happen, and if it does, the Packers will find themselves in the postseason. I think I look at it this way. If I had to put a percentage on it for the Packers to make it the postseason, I would probably say 80% of me says it's not going to happen. I said 2 or 3 weeks ago the season was over, so I sucked a dagger in it then. But because it's not because the Packers have suddenly started playing better, but it's because the teams around them have faltered so poorly that you go, wait a minute. This team, as bad as they've been, could find themselves in the postseason. And that's the truth. I don't think that, hey, the Packers are going to go on some 4-game ass-kicking run. I think it'd be crazy. But if, by chance, the team we thought at the beginning of the season begins to show up, and you got to think a little bit, right? You got to think, okay, Rodgers has not looked like Rodgers, right? We can all agree upon that. But have you been excited at all about Christian Watson? I bet you have. And the fact that Romeo Doubs, before he went down, started to gain the trust of Rodgers, and now you went from a banged-up wide receiving core and a lot of question marks to the emergence of a Christian Watson, getting Romeo Doubs back, having Lazard, having Cobb safety nets. You've discovered that if you run the ball pretty consistently, and hopefully you get Bakhtiari back sooner rather than later, although I still think it's going to be a couple weeks. But you've discovered that Zach Tom's a pretty good fill-in, much like the year that, Mark Tauscher went down and in stepped Brian Bulaga, but Brian Bulaga was a high draft choice. So I understand that. It's not the best of comparisons, but we've seen it happen before, same as when Josh Nijman took over at the left tackle position. He did pretty well. Things are better. They're not great. They're better. And then if Rodgers, being healthy and just throws it, just says, look, if you're going to go down, we're going to go down swinging. And suddenly it begins to happen. Well, then who knows? 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, feel free.
One argue,
ahead, yeah,
in terms of going down swinging, wouldn't one argue that they're better when Rodgers is not slinging the ball all around the field, or have been this year? That they're better when the ball's in Aaron Jones' hand?
Yeah, but we've also seen Rodgers, instead of just throwing it to the spot. I mean, even Mike Clemens has alluded to this. Go back to the game against Chicago, where Cobb is wide open, and Rodgers, instead of throwing it to the wide open Cobb, he overthinks it and says, this is our rule of thumb. So he throws it 10 yards downfield and it's an incomplete pass. Why not just hit the wide open guy? Just throw the damn ball. That's been part of the taking him out of the matrix mindset for a while, since Matt LaFleur got here. Going back to one of those early on games when we saw Matt LaFleur running down the sideline yelling, throw the damn ball. Quit thinking about it. Quit trying to make everybody the savant that you want them to be. Just do it. Just do it. If a guy's open on a 10-yard out, don't act like he's supposed to know that he's got to go the extra 10 yards downfield because he's got a wide open space. Just hit him. Just give them the ball and let those guys do their thing. And if they don't go for a touchdown, so what? You move the sticks. You live to fight another day. So that's more of what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about taking the ball out of Aaron Jones' hands. Far from it. I think that you have to do, there has to be a really, really good mix.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. I look at the situation and I get scared that if a sudden turnaround happens, maybe because they start playing great, or maybe more so because others start to falter everywhere, both against them and then also around them in the standings. I get scared there won't be changes made at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Because it could easily be, but we still crept in.
Yeah. No, I can completely understand
that.
Yeah. No, I can completely understand that.
Personnel-wise, too.
Yeah.
I mean, they have underwhelmed at almost every position on defense. They've obviously underwhelmed on offense and haven't been healthy, but personnel, coaching, all that stuff, it would be awesome. I get scared that it would lead to a lack of change.
Right. No, I'm with you. I think of what a win streak, and as people have pointed out, oh my God, if they go on a win streak, we're never going to see Jordan Love. I don't care. My priority this season is not seeing Jordan Love. It's just not on my, if it happens, if the circumstances allow, then yes. But it's not on the radar. Nobody started this season going, this is the year we have to see Jordan Love. You would have liked it, but I don't think anybody's saying that. Not right now. People that want to see him, they want to see, you know why? Because those people have the hope. Those people have the hope that the fans that want to get to the postseason have. It's the hope. It's hoping for two different things. You're hoping your team stinks enough so you can say, there's the Jordan Love I told everybody was going to be out there. I told you so because you saw two good series out of Jordan Love. That's what you're looking for. While other Packers fans are saying, I'm hoping they get to the postseason, because when you get to the postseason, you can be one of the hotter teams. Maybe you're healthy at the right time. And all of a sudden, maybe lightning does strike. Who knows? Maybe you're going to play, I hate to say this about you, Ben, but maybe, as you get ready to go and start playing in a postseason, maybe the very first postseason game, the Philadelphia Eagles play, Jalen Hurts goes down.
Oh,
and they don't have him anymore. And suddenly that pathway opens up for you to maybe garner yourself a spot. Maybe Justin Jefferson goes down. Maybe Deebo Samuel and Purdy go down. It can happen. Maybe the ugly Dak Prescott shows up and throws 3 picks. It can happen. So, the likelihood of it happening is nil. It's almost nothing. But there's still that hope there. Now, you're hoping teams go backwards to equal your level of play, but we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen in baseball. We've seen it happen in basketball. We've seen injuries become prominent. So what? So what? So I just think that if you get there, anything can happen. The likelihood of it happening is pretty slim, but you don't count it out, because God knows sports are a weird thing filled with underdogs that get hot at the right time and shock the world. The Packers weren't expected to win a Super Bowl when they did. And people still say, oh, that was what they call it, a fluke, a magic carpet ride or whatever. They just got hot at the right time and they won it. They weren't really a good team. Who cares? They're hoisting a trophy and flipping you off with a ring on their finger. Who cares? I'll take it. 877-867-1670. Find us. Would love to talk to you. 877-867-1670. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there, New Man Medical, treating guys with ED all over the state, beyond the borders. No matter where you're at, call one number, 414-455-4451. That's 414-455-4451. 414-455-4451. That's the Pneumo Medical Center. If you're feeling sluggish, if you're feeling moody, if you're dragging ass, you're tired, you can't figure it out, could be low T if you're over the age of 30. Takes you maybe 10, 15 minutes tops. Find out what your numbers are. Go in, get checked. They can say, hey, you're low, you're not low. You've got maybe a vitamin deficiency. You've got this, you got that. Or maybe you just need a swift kick in the butt to get your butt off the couch. Whatever it happens to be, they can help you out. Plus the all-in-one weight loss program. Yes, it works. Call them. 414-455-4451.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
This December, it's a cash avalanche at Potawatomi. Saturdays, you could get buried in up to 10 grand cash. Plus, all the unclaimed prizes snowball into a huge cash jackpot at the end of the month. Just play with your club card for a chance to win. Sure, presents are nice, but nothing beats cold, hard cash. Only at Potawatomi Hotel and Casino. More info at paysbig.com/cold cash. Must be 21 years old to play.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Quickness is happening. I stopped into Quick Trip this morning. As a matter of fact, I was coming back from a meeting. And it's going on Quickness right now. And I got to tell you, it's pretty cool when you can get the little thing. You know, whether like today I got, I went up to the counter and I paid and I got one of those breakfast burritos. And they're like, oh, that's on us today. Thank you. Quickness! How you doing? Merry Quickness. Oh, it's great. Great stuff. And still, don't forget, whenever you go up to the pump, type in your Quick Rewards card.
And you're good to go from our friends at Quick Trip, because when you type in that Quick Rewards number, you know what that means? That means you are automatically registered for the Packers opening drive contest. They have 4 of those left, too. So you can still maybe be one of those recipients. Not a bad way to go. Check it out. Check it out. Good stuff from our friends at Quick Trip. Love that place. Went in today, they had the 2 for $5 or something like that on the Red Bulls, which I do like one a day. And they had, I had to pick up some milk because they used all the milk in the house for the pudding shots over the weekend. So I didn't have any milk in the house. I needed to pick up some eggs and picked up a loaf of the carb bread, which is awesome. So, which stays fresh forever. If you've never tried Quick Trip milk, you don't know what you're missing. Whether it's skim all the way up to the whole, it doesn't matter. That stuff stays fresh. It stays fresh for 2 months. Which I'm exaggerating, but it's that good. Good stuff from our friends at Quick Trip. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. Find us. Real quick, and I don't want to ignore this, but Ben, you've got Luke Fickell grabbing up some portal guys that are making some commits, and people are genuinely geeked and energized about all of this right now. And he took a couple of guys from Cincinnati. So people in the Queen City, I'm hearing from them that are saying, are you kidding me? He's already kind of stealing from us, so to speak, as he walks out the door, which every coach does. But are you feeling good about what Luke Fickell has done thus far?
Yeah, I guess. He's taken some 2023 guys, some high school guys that were committed to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be some years off. But yeah, and some of them are in the secondary, which is exciting.
Right.
He has had terrific secondaries throughout his entire career. The big news was they had a big visitor, a 4-star quarterback out of high school, year at Oklahoma that I mentioned yesterday. And he hasn't committed yet. So we don't know if that's going to happen. But it looks like, obviously, Wisconsin is a prime option for him, given that he did visit. And people are excited. I've tempered it a bit. He hasn't really played in college. It's like getting a high school quarterback in, and it's still kind of a coin flip as to whether it'll work out. So we'll see. We'll see. I guess I would not be over the moon if he started under center in 2023. I think they need experience there.
Okay.
But we'll see. I like what he's doing. It's a crazy time because he comes here, they have bowl prep, and then he is going all around the state to not only build a 2023 class, he's recruiting in the portal. Like, the amount of stuff that's on his plate is kind of ridiculous. So the fact he seems to be balancing it and getting some guys in, it's good.
Yep. Things are at least moving in a positive direction. This is the most, is it fair to say, and for Badger fans that are out there, let me know, is it fair to say that this is probably the most buzz? I hate to say excitement because there's excitement every year for Badger football, but is this the most buzz and excitement Badger football has had in probably the last 3 to 5 years?
Oh yeah, just because of the change. I mean, the numbers for the podcast and shows will tell you that.
Yeah.
That people are interested in Fickell. They're interested in Phil Longo, the offensive coordinator, because there's so much unknown.
Right.
Because they've gone and made changes that they've never made before.
Right. I would think that there is a lot of excitement. Brett says how UW football getting aggressive on the recruiting trail, looking in the portal for quarterbacks, feeling good about it. I admit I look at Wisconsin, and every year I look at Wisconsin and say, is this the year that they can kind of put it together? And you're hoping and you're praying, can they get to the 9 wins? Can they be respectable and going to a Big Ten championship game? And can they just be respectable getting beat by Ohio State or Michigan? That's the way I look at it. Now I look at it as, boy, this thing in a couple of years, I know Fickell says, this is not the way to build a team. It's not through the portal. It's not through, being the headhunter and the NIL guy and scalping guys that are just looking for another place to go and eligibility, blah, blah, blah. But it's also the way you do get there. You figure out what your weaknesses are. You recruit the best players you possibly can recruit. And then if you can plug and play a couple of guys to fill the weaknesses out of the portal, yeah, that's how you get there. I mean, that's what it is. So and then when you rise to prominence, you get more and more of that. And especially if Fickell is able to not only have the success at Cincinnati, but suddenly in a year that was a down year, you take a lot of the same guys, change quarterback, get, the defense where you want it, get a few guys that are going to be big blockers up front, and all of a sudden you get back to being Wisconsin football 2.0, and you start winning. Say next year you get to 9 wins, and you're representing the West in that last year of that East-West clash. Then you hit the ground, and you're say you do play well against Ohio State or Michigan. Then you hit the ground running going into 2024, and that's when you get the influx of UCLA and USC. And all of a sudden now you're fighting with them, but you're also up there in the upper echelon of the Big Ten. You're getting more and more of those guys, more and more recognition, more and more people looking over that fence going, Fickell's a hell of a coach, and this is where I want to go. Weather be damned. Because this whole thing that I get all the time about, well, the weather, my ass. It's the same as Columbus. It's the same as over in Ann Arbor. I don't know why weather would be a deterrent. You're getting 5-star recruits in Ohio. They don't have a lot drastically different weather than what we do here. It's just as cold. They may not get the same amount of snow in the wintertime, but it's just as cold. Trust me. Same thing with Ann Arbor. So I don't know why people want to throw weather around and go, well, it's hard to recruit to that campus. Actually, it's just the opposite. You ever been to Columbus, Ohio? Other than the Olentangy and the Scioto running through the middle of it? It's flat. There's not a lot there. You drive around the city, you can see the city the entire way around the Beltway. It's flat. There's not much to it. Beautiful downtown. It's nice. But no. Whereas you got Mendota and you got the lakes and you've got the hills and you got everything out in that direction. Are you kidding me? Wisconsin's big campus is beautiful. And it's smack dab in the middle of the city, the same as Columbus, Ohio is. Same as the Buckeyes are. Same as Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's a nice place to go. But it's kind of the same. Little more hilly, a little more terrain. But no, you got a beautiful campus. I wouldn't sell it short. People that do that are just fooling themselves.
The reasons for pause I bring up aren't directly weather related. It's geography related, where you just don't have 5-star receivers in the state.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm very optimistic.
But you don't have a lot of 5-star receivers coming out of Ohio or Michigan, for that matter. The football there is different. 100%. That I will 1,000,000% agree with. It's different. If you've never been to Friday Night Lights in Ohio, it's just different. It's a, I small towns, it's a passion, but it's not like when the whole west side of Cincinnati pours into the pit for 15, 17,000, 18,000 to all of a sudden watch Elder Moeller or Elder Xavier or Elder LaSalle or Elder Cleveland St. Ignatius. Or they pour into Nippert Stadium on the campus of UC and they fill it up for a high school football game. Or when they play Northern Kentucky in Campbell County, Sean Alexander's old high school. Or when they play Louisville Trinity and they have to take it to Paul Brown Stadium because they're going to get 55,000 plus for a high school game. That's not like that. It is different. But they're finding talent, yes. But Luke Fickell knows all these coaches now. I think he's going to take kids out of that belt and bring them to Wisconsin. I really do.
Yeah, he will. I just don't know where the 5-star receivers are going to come from. Like when you look at Phil Longo's system, you need athletic and very talented receivers. And Wisconsin has fine receivers. But in order to get over the hump and to become explosive as he wants to be, you need that level of talent. And the only program in the country that really does it is Ohio State. And that's Brian Hartline. He's one of the best recruiters in the country. Mm-hmm. They get dudes from Florida. Right. They get dudes from all over. I just don't know where that comes from for Wisconsin. So I think they could be good. And I hope everything works out perfectly. I'm just not head over heels in on it being an instant fix because they just cannot get the athletes that other programs do.
No doubt. We're going to take a quick break. Hey, by the way, yes, Mark, I am wearing a Pella pullover today. It was just in the closet, grabbed it, but it fits. And I love it when Gina Della sends stuff over that actually fits me, like other people do. Sometimes I'll get something that's like a large. It's like, come on, it won't fit my thigh. But that being said, it's a perfect fit for your home. Look at that segue. That's what we do in radio. Perfect fit for your home. You know why? They come over, they custom measure. They measure it once, they measure it twice before they send it off to get it manufactured. Then it's assembled. Then they're custom installers. They put it in. And the best part about it is right here, right now, keep the jingle in your pocket. You know why? Because you don't have to make payments until 2024. It's that good. All of 2023, basically free. You get into 2024, there you go. So you can beautify your home, make it more economical, but make it more valuable. You can pick out the interior, the exterior, the wood, the vinyl, fiberglass, whatever it happens to be. But I'm telling you, they got a line for everybody, something for everybody's budget, whether it's patio doors, windows, hardware that you can choose, roll screens, slider windows, you name it, Pella's got it. Go to PellaWI.com. That is PellaWI.com. They are positively the best.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
What do you get the meat lover, the grilling lover in your life this holiday season? How about a gift subscription to Scholze Family Beef? Go to ScholzeFamilyBeef.com. One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. I'm in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or a pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine. A place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers are back from the bye, getting ready for Monday Night Football when they host the Rams. At 5-8, the Packers will need some help from teams in the NFC East and South if they have any hopes of making the playoffs. Packers safety Adrian Amos.
We can't control the scenarios, you know what I'm saying? So it's like all we can control is win. If we lose, it don't matter anyway. So we just have to prepare to win out.
Wide receiver Romeo Doubs was asked how he felt about the game-time decision in Chicago to not play with that high ankle sprain against the Bears.
I thought it was a great decision. Made sure I did everything throughout the week. I tried to see how the ankle felt, just cutting, moving around, just playing the position. And I thought it was a great decision just to sit out for the Bears game. I knew that I had an advantage being able to use the bye week to get my ankle back going again. So it was a great decision.
Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee Show asked how his ribs and fractured thumb are doing and how he spent the bye.
Thumb is doing a lot better. It was nice to have that week off. The ribs are doing better too. I was able to finally start getting some sleep. Yeah, but my body's feeling a lot better. It always feels good coming back after the bye, whether you're 21 or whatever the hell old I am now. It's nice to get that week off. Went to the beach, worked on my tan, wore a lot of tank tops. Yeah, showed off my belly button a little bit and had a good time.
That's Aaron Rodgers. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on The Bill Michaels Show.
Bill Michaels Show continuing on 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, feel free, give us a shout. This is from Mark, who says, do you really think the 49ers are going to be that bad without Debo? I don't think it's that bad. I just think that's a hell of a loss. That would be the equivalent of the Packers last year losing Devontae Adams. I just, it's a big loss. They use him in many different facets. So, yeah, I do think it's a big deal. Do I think it's detrimental to where this team can't function anymore? No. But I still think it's a big deal. Got to talk a little bit about really bad behavior. Got to. Shame. Bad behavior. It's coming up. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Aaron Rodgers says his body is feeling good after the Packers bye week. The quarterback was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, was asked about his broken thumb and banged up ribs and how they were feeling after the week off.
Thumb is doing a lot better. It was nice to have that week off. The ribs are doing better too. I was able to finally start getting some sleep. Yeah, but my body's feeling a lot better. Look, nobody wants a week 14 bye. Nobody does. But it always feels good coming back after the bye, whether you're 21 or whatever the hell old I am now. It's nice to get that week off.
That audio from the Pat McAfee show. Packers were on the practice field yesterday. They'll be back out there tomorrow as they continue getting ready for a visit from the Los Angeles Rams on Monday night. Turning to the Badgers, they're in the midst of bowl prep for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl against Oklahoma State in less than 2 weeks. New coach Luke Fickell says they have not decided on who will start at quarterback for them in that game. Now that Graham Mertz is in the transfer portal, will either be senior Chase Wolf or true freshman Miles Burkett. Meanwhile, the team got a commitment from three-star tight end Tucker Ashcraft last night. The Washington product had been committed to Colorado until earlier this month. He was the third commitment for Fickell in about 24 hours.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucs hammered Golden State last night, beating the defending champs 128-111. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 30 points, 12 rebounds. Bobby Portis added 25 points off the bench. They'll be in Memphis tomorrow. And the Badgers back at practice today. They're going to host Lehigh tomorrow at the Kohl Center. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Good day and welcome. Good to have you back. The Bill Michaels Show. Continuing on. Enjoying the day. I do want to talk about some bad behavior. Abdo Nas says 5-star and 4-star recruits and wide receivers will not go to Wisconsin because it's all about running the ball. And besides Russell Wilson, 1 year we've had horrible QBs. What comes first? A wide receiver that says I'm going to go there and suddenly they become a passing team, or a good quarterback, or what? At some point, Ohio State switched over from a running team to a passing team. At some point, Michigan switched over from a running team to a passing team, or a more balanced offense at least. You got to start somewhere. You got to get somebody somewhere, right? And they just hired an offensive coordinator that wants to throw the ball. Don't forget about that. So I'm going to say that, you got to do something at some point in time that says we're going to be what everybody else is. So don't get crazy. At some point, it's going to happen. Just saying. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670 if you want to find us. Now, this was a little disconcerting, and I don't know necessarily what to believe because this guy is kind of a jag everywhere he goes. But a fan was thrown out of the Warriors-Bucks games last night at the Fiserv Forum after exchanging words with Draymond Green. Giannis lined up for a couple of free throws. We all saw it, right? 6:30 left in the third quarter. And the Bucks won. It was a dominating Bucks win. 128-111, I think, was the final. But a fan was baseline, courtside, and they were heckling Draymond Green. According to Draymond Green, the fan said, quote, "some threatening things to my life." I don't believe it for a minute. I don't believe it for a minute. You know why? Now, I could be wrong, and I would then turn around and apologize if I am. But I'll say this. There's not a lot of people that stand up and say, "I'm going to kill you." That's, or anything derogatory to that sense. It just doesn't happen. It is when you get heckled. I don't believe it for a minute. Draymond Green is a lightning rod for poor behavior, period. And had a fan, and I would love to hear. I mean, there's a lot of people that listen to this show, and I know that because I've got friends that have courtside seats. I've got friends and sponsors for that matter. I'd love to know what you heard. I'd love to know what you heard because, as far as I can tell, as far the ref didn't hear it, other players didn't hear it. I haven't heard it, but the sentiment is clear. Obviously, that there's going to be an investigation, and we're going to look into this, and they're going to start interviewing people around. But I have not, in any story that I've read, I have not had any fan that has been quoted that has come out and said, yeah, that guy there said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill your mom. I'm going to, whatever. That threatened his life. I'm going to run you over with my car in the parking lot. Nothing like that. Nothing. Threatened my life is what he said. It's not like he said he threatened my physical being or he wanted to kick my ass or, nothing like that. He said threatened my life. So on one hand, if there is a fan that's sitting courtside that does that, absolutely. You point him out, get rid of him. Because then you are an obnoxious jerk and have no business being at a sporting event. Completely against that kind of behavior. But Draymond Green is he's trouble. Always has been, always will be. It's the way he plays. And I've always said that this is a guy that's going to do anything and everything he can to gain the edge over you, whether it's beat you up, lie about you, whatever. That's what he does. Not a fan of Draymond Green. Hell of a basketball player. Don't get me wrong. Guy's a kick-ass basketball player, but that's not the guy. So I'd love to know what the guy or girl, for that matter, sitting courtside said about Draymond Green, because I'm not buying it. Ben, have you read or heard anything that would say that Draymond Green was his life was threatened, and we've got a direct quote from anybody that has said, yeah, this is what I heard?
I don't know. I watched the video. I couldn't tell anything.
Yeah, I couldn't either. I think he's full of crap, but that's just me. That's just me. But if anybody was there last night and you have a phone, call the program. I want to know what was said. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. I'd really love to know what was said because I'm not buying it. I think Draymond Green used that as just an easy way to get rid of a heckler because he just didn't want to hear it anymore. Just my thought. 877-867-1670. Give us a buzz. This one is from Anthony, who says Mason Crosby this year beyond 50 has been putrid. The whole season for Mason has been putrid. Do you think he's back with the team next year? First of all, beyond 50, he's only 0 for 2. So when you say putrid, what the hell are you talking about? 0 for 2. He's 3 for 4 from 40 to 49 yards. And one of those, that was one that was actually blocked. I think it was a 42-yarder. Snap was bad. Everything about it didn't look good. And then it got blocked. Other than that, he's perfect. Other than he's 15 for 18. 2 misses beyond 50 and 1 block. He's 15 for 18. So when you say putrid, what is your level of putrid? That I would love to know. What is your level of putrid? Just trying to look at some of the people that have actually made quite a few field goals. Graham Gano, 22 of 25. He's 88%. Ryan Suckup, considered a really good kicker, 24 of 28, 85%. Mason Crosby, 15 of 18, only missed 3, 2 of which were beyond 50. 3. Now, what is your version of putrid? The only thing you can say about Mason Crosby is that kickoffs have not consistently gone into the end zone. That's it. That I understand. That you have an argument for. But putrid when it comes to field goals, you're not doing your homework, or you're just figuring out a way to be mad for whatever reason. I don't know why, but that would be it. What is my thoughts on the Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp situation from 2 days ago when discussing Tom Brady? I honestly, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it. Fill me in. Ben, you know what he's talking about?
Yeah, I don't. The clip went all over. Skip Bayless kind of said Shannon Sharp was a bad player as a way to prop up Brady, and said Shannon didn't accomplish anything, which was kind of a weird blow in a weird argument. I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of the clip.
I have, and I got to be honest with you, and this is the God's honest truth, okay? And I'm not blowing you off, and I'm not trying to be ignorant here. When it comes to Skip Bayless, I learned a long time ago, I don't listen to that guy. He is the biggest blowhard, full of crap moron, and he does it for shtick. He does it for shtick. That's it. He does anything and everything he can to antagonize and completely blows in the face of fact. He'll use an obscure fact to prop up his argument, but he has his targets. It doesn't matter what happens overall. He has his targets. You can go out and play a perfect season and win a Super Bowl, and if he doesn't like you, he will say you were lucky. And here's the reason why. And because you were only one of 19 against this particular style of defense. You could never beat them in the Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's just the way he is. He is a complete and utter jag. And he's made a living off of it. He's been paid handsomely for it. He was a jag when he was a writer. He was a jag when he was at ESPN. And he's even a bigger jag now that he has his own platform. He says nothing of relevance to me. Nothing. And the shtick between him and Stephen A. pounding on the Cowboys, as much as he's a Cowboys fan, Stephen A. pounding on him every chance he gets, and the back and forth with Jerry Jones and everything, it keeps their name in the headlines. And that's actually, in this business, what you want to do. But it also, along the way, demeans credibility. You know, you have to have a balancing act, between the two. But I just, I have absolutely positively no use for Skip Bayless. None. Tom says, and don't forget, you don't know if Crosby was told to kick short either. There are times when you can clearly tell he's going to a particular side of the field and going short. They're using the sideline as a 12th man. They're going short because of things they see in return and kick coverage, that they have an advantage. So, yes, you're right. There are times, though, when you're kicking it straight down the middle, and instead of going 5 yards deep into the end zone, it's right at the goal line or 2 yards short. Yeah, you're trying to stick it out of the end zone. And, if you're outdoors or something like that, it could just be on a more breezy day or, inclement conditions to be able to do that. But we've seen that also inside domes before as well. This was from our buddy Steve. Says, first of all, thoughts and prayers to the family of Mike Leach. He was a good coach and quite a character. I was flipping back and forth in a Bucks game last night. I don't know if it was just me, but it seems as if every time I turned it on, Golden State was pissing and moaning about every call. Oh, it was brutal last night. They are struggling on the road. They are struggling with calls. They are more interested in arguing than they are in playing basketball at this point. Even Steph Curry's getting drawn up into it. He said, I also saw a whistle-happy ref that was handing out technicals as if it was Halloween candy. Good win by the Bucks, too. Just bad that the fan was ejected. And again, like I said, I want to know what the fan said. I want to know what the fan said, and I want to know if people around that fan heard it. That's what I want to know. And that's our own investigation, because we know the NBA, what they're going to do as well. That fan said this, but didn't really say that. It was construed as this, and we have to be careful what we say. We want to create a good conduct between the fans and the players and this and that. It's like, no. They pointed at the fan. They made him leave. And the funny thing is that this fan was 2 or 3 rows back, and it was still that guy and whatever. The trade that the Brewers made this week is being graded out as an A by most experts. The good, bad, and favorable contract, very exciting. I'd still like to see them target Brian Reynolds, shore up the outfield. I'm looking forward to the combination of Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs to get more of a handful of snaps together. Jalen Ramsey can't cover them both. And without Aaron Donald, I'm hopeful the Packers can provide a solid run game. Have a great weekend. And Wednesday, that is our buddy Steve in Richfield. Steve, you're the man. Appreciate it. Pack Attack says the Baltimore Ravens won a Super Bowl with a so-so quarterback and a great defense. I think the 49ers have a chance to go up against anybody, and on a good day, may win a Super Bowl. At minimum, I think it's fun, especially when Brady went down. Diehard Packer fan, dude. No, I agree with that. Could they still do it? Yeah. What I said was Deebo Samuel was a hell of a loss. They use him in so many different facets in that Shanahan offense. They use him in motion. They use him to run the ball. They use him to catch the ball. He is great at finding the seam. And God forbid you play zone against him. He is just, if you watch him, he will just find the space and sit. He's just so good at it. By the way, Pack Attack says the most excitement since Barry Alvarez. Come on. Recruiting is bottom line. And how to get people into Wisconsin and get those 3 and 4 stars, maybe a 5 into Wisconsin would be wonderful. It seemed like everybody was leaving a couple of weeks ago. Now it's a total turnaround, and that's from our diehard Packer fan guy. I agree. I agree with you. No doubt. By the way, the NFL odds and ends are out. The 4-5 money says Nathaniel Hackett's the next guy to go. Cliff Kingsbury and Josh McDaniels. Now, Josh McDaniels is a funny cat because they are paying John Gruden a lot of money. I don't think they're going to fire Josh McDaniels. I just don't. I don't think he's going anywhere. But Matt LaFleur is still holding tight on the list at the bottom, 33-1 to lose his job. Here's something for you. A prop bet that's popped up, Ben, and it involves Aaron Rodgers. Let's do this when we come back. A new prop bet that's out there. I'll give it to you. You tell me what you think. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show. It's all coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
One of the worst things that you can hear, you have cancer. The worst is when you hear the words, your child has cancer. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, it changes their world. Sometimes they can't even do things that they really love, like playing soccer, riding a bike, going to prom, attending school. Children with cancer spend a lot of time away from others. Time in the hospital, treatments, tired, nauseous, and they feel isolated. That's where Special Spaces Wisconsin steps in. They provide these children with a special space where they can not only sleep, but they can play, they can heal, they can spend time away from the challenges of their illness. It's a customized bedroom designed just for them. How about a princess castle or pirate ship or a sports-themed bedroom? They transform that child's existing bedroom into a place that only he or she can imagine, a place for them just to be a kid. This effort is done with teams of dedicated volunteers and sponsors, just like our friends from Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin and all the community partners. If you'd like to find out more or to donate, go to specialspaces.org. That is specialspaces.org.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
KOEHN, KaneJewelry.com. That's KaneJewelry.com. And check it out. They have great stuff this time of year. Really, really great stuff this time of year. And if you're looking for that special somebody to buy for, they have even classes. They can tell you what you're looking for, how to buy it, what to look for when you get there. You can get a private showing. Go to Kane Jewelry, KOEHN, KaneJewelry.com. And you can see the Buy Like a Guy podcast or take a look at some of the inventory and then just head on out and know what you're looking for. But it's worth the trip to go to West Bend. It really is worth the trip. So here's something. Aaron Rodgers has found his way into betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. Ben, you tell me, if Aaron Rodgers is not in Green Bay next year, where do you think he ends up?
That's a good question. My first gut reaction says the New York Jets.
That's 11-2 odds.
Is that the favorite?
Nope.
Oh. Is the CFL on the board or some other league?
Think of this. It says the top spot is going to the AFC and the Colts at 7-2. They say
they bring in another aging guy.
Yeah.
They go Wentz, and Matt Ryan, then Rodgers.
I would say no to that only for the fact that I can't. That's sending Rodgers off to at the end of his career to the Siberia of football at this point. Jeff Saturday wants to be the head coach. There's a lot of topsy-turvy down there. I don't think, now don't get me wrong. Maybe Rodgers would go, you know what? To play in a dome every day on that nicer turf rather than the craptastic stuff that's over in Detroit. I do that. I don't see him going to that team. That team doesn't have enough help. But, and that would be kind of like, okay, we're not going to, you want out? We'll let you go. You're going to the Colts. That would be the ultimate of get the hell out of here.
It'd be kind of funny.
The Commanders at 4-1. Man, Packers sending him to the NFC. The Lions are 5-1. There's no way you would send him in your division and let him come back to beat you twice a year. No way. Then
Not
the
without
Jets.
Goff is playing too.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, I'd still, if I'm a Lions fan and they say, "Can you get Aaron Rodgers?" I'd be like, "Yeah," but how much you gonna have to get up to get him? Then the Jets, then the Saints, then the Panthers, then the Buccaneers. Can you imagine him being the second placeholder after Tom Brady? Then the Giants, who believe they're only a quarterback away. Then the Falcons at 16-1. I can't imagine. Can't imagine. I still think Rodgers is in Green Bay. So I think this is all a moot point. But if you get crazy, I'm not you would eliminate the NFC teams. So I would either go Jets at 11-2 or put $100 down, or the Colts 7-2. But I don't think I'd go with an NFC team. I don't think I could do it because the rest of them are NFC teams. Not going to happen. They're already betting on the starting quarterback for San Francisco next year. First week 1 of 2023. Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Jimmy Garoppolo, or any other quarterback.
Brady.
That's not going to happen.
No, seriously.
No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Brady walks away. They're talking about whether or not Desmond Ridder is going to be the Atlanta Falcons starting quarterback of week 1. It's a 5-9 saying yes, which I find funny because the Falcons are one of the teams that are actually on the board regarding Aaron Rodgers. So there you go. And now it gets into the rest of the stuff, when it comes to prop bets. So there you go. If you're looking for the highest scoring team coming up this week, the Vikings are at 3-2, Bills at 3-1, Colts 7-2, which I find rather interesting. Browns at 6-1, Ravens at 9, Dolphins at 10-1. The lowest scoring team this weekend, the Dolphins, which they say the Dolphins could be the highest or the lowest scoring team. The Ravens at 11-4, the Browns could be the highest, or because you just don't know with Deshaun Watson. Then the Colts, then the Bills, then the Vikings. I find it funny that those teams are on the board on both sides. Interesting stuff. Right? Rick says, how are they not listing the Titans? And he says, don't forget, Aaron Rodgers has a home in Nashville. Was that ever confirmed?
Sources told that one dude in radio.
Yeah, was
just
that
wouldn't shut up about it.
Right. Was that ever confirmed? Again, I ask.
No.
It was never confirmed, from what I understand. That was kind of like, oh yeah, we think he's building a house here. Okay, great. And then that was it. Nothing was ever stated after the fact.
I think Rodgers joked about it on Pat McAfee one day.
Did he?
And said,
Okay.
oh yeah, apparently I'm building a house in Nashville.
Yeah. I don't think that was ever taken with seriousness. So there you go. 877-867-1670. This one's from Mark, who said Aaron Rodgers is going to be in Green Bay next year, not only for the money, but for the pride. He also doesn't want to retire the same year that Tom Brady retires. No way he's playing anywhere else. See, if and when they extend, because everybody thinks that next year is going to be a problematic year when it comes to payroll regarding Jordan Love, because you're going to be paying two quarterbacks a ton of money. You're going to be paying them more money, but that would be whether or not the extension, they would make that extension kick in with more guaranteed money after Rodgers is gone. And who knows? I mean, if they believe in him, then yeah, you probably pay him a little bit extra to, stick around and be a backup for another year or two, But I think there is some thought that if I'm Jordan Love, I don't want to sit behind Rodgers another 2 years if he decides to stay. There's a ton of money to be garnered there. I don't think a ton of playing time to be garnered there. I mean, he wants to get out and play so he can show his wares, and that way, if indeed he is worth anything, he can then make more money. That's what he wants. I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. 877-867-60. I just don't think that for Mark says there's no way Jordan Love is staying here next year. He's going to demand a trade. He's going to get traded somewhere that can actually use a quarterback. Okay, that's fine. But what? And again, I go back to you can demand a trade. You can demand whatever you want, but the team could just say no. What leg do you have to stand on? You're not costing them a lot of money, and if you don't come to camp, who cares? They just go with the next backup. It's not like you're making $25 million and you could or couldn't count against the cap and this and that, and they're crazy. No. And oh, by the way, you've only had 2 series that make you look good. So don't act like you're Tom Brady in the last leg of your career going, I demand a trade. Stop. You haven't done anything. Not because of your own fault, but last year was not, the Chiefs game, the Detroit game. They weren't great. You don't have anything right now. That's the problem. Everybody just thinks that he can demand this trade. He can say it, and maybe the Packers will acquiesce. Who knows? But it's not like if he demands it, everybody's going to go, oh, my God, Jordan Love's leaving the Packers. Who cares? Right now, you've got the here and the now to worry about. Just draft another quarterback. That's just my opinion. Who knows? What else we got? We got a lot of stuff. Got a lot of stuff going on. This portion of the program, by the way, brought to you by our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery. Forgotten Fire Winery, you can find them at ForgottenFireWinery.com. That is ForgottenFireWinery.com. This time of year, don't show up empty-handed. Stop into your local wine store, grocery store, liquor store. Ask for it by name. Reds, whites, ciders, they have got it all. Some award-winning, others just having fun. It's fun in a bottle. That's our friends at Forgotten Fire Winery.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Wisconsin isn't snobby, snooty, or pretentious. It's Midwestern charm at its finest. And that's exactly what Forgotten Fire Winery in Peshtigo is all about. Fun in a bottle without the attitude. You can find their full wine and cider lineup in their tasting room or in liquor and grocery stores throughout the state. The winery is a great place to get away. For wine and cider tastings, great live music, and private events all year long. Remember, any time is a great time for Forgotten Fire wines and ciders. Wisconsin wine made from Wisconsin people.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
As well. That's MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. MilwaukeeAdmirals.com. 877-867-1670. Let's go to our buddy Gerard, listening to us in Delaware. Gerard, what's going on, man?
Hey, Bill.
What's up?
First thing I want to say is, I guess some of my friends haven't seen a 6'5", 250-pound pink rabbit since they were dropping acid in the 60s.
Yeah, well, I figured I'd shock the world a little bit.
Rabbit, I tell you what. But anyway, I agree with Ben as far as the Packers. I don't want them to be mediocre. I don't want them. I want, because I'm fearful that they might say, "Oh, we'll keep this guy then, and we'll keep that guy then," and a whole bit. I don't want that. To be honest with you, I disagree with you, Bill. I want them to lose out. You know how big of a Packer. Come on.
Yeah.
You know I'm a Packer fan and a whole bit, but I want them to lose out. I want them to get that big boy from Georgia, that 6'4", 358-pounder. And if they're saying he's 358, he's got to be big.
Right.
That's probably being kind. That's probably way before breakfast.
Sure.
But those guys. That's I want the big guy or the whole big. And Rodgers has control half the Giants situation and the Packers. They can never take on Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these teams couldn't. It would be the Jets in my that's what I'm thinking anyway. That it would be the Jets. And they're going to have to do something because they're going to be in the same cap hell. They're not going to be able to get these guys. They're not going to be able to do anything. Like I said before, it's like a broken record thing, And then the other thing I want to say is I just read a thing on CBS Sports about the recruiting, the college recruiting. And the headline was Notre Dame and Georgia challenging Alabama for the top recruiting class. And the listing of the top 5 recruiting classes, Alabama, Georgia, Notre Dame, Texas, and then Ohio State. They don't give any more. They just give the top 5. Right. And I'm in shock with Notre Dame. I'm in shock. I'm a Notre Dame fan. So I'm in shock that they're even that high. You know what I mean? But the coach, obviously, even Ben alluded to this, he's a very good recruiter. So, that's more than half the battle.
Right.
So, again, like I said, I'm going to sit there and I love my back. But I don't want it. I really don't. You know what I mean? I don't want them. And let me ask you one more thing.
Sure.
I saw that somebody just tore their ACL, and their estimated time to be ready is training camp, and they just saw it. So how is Gary doing? When is he supposed to be back?
They're thinking around
That's
training
huge.
camp.
We don't know that.
Yeah, they're thinking around training camp. That
Okay.
he will be back.
So
Yeah.
Okay, because you got to think if he did that, he won't be quite the same, right? Do you agree or disagree?
Well, it's weird because some guys come back and they have even a quicker step. It just depends on how they heal. I mean, an ACL, an ACL tear is weird because if it's put back together right, and you don't have a lot of scar tissue, you have just as much movement. And some people will say you tore your ACL. It'll come. Usually it's stronger because when they put it back on your bone and the way they do it, it's even stronger than it was probably going into the season. You get a little bit of a spring in your step if you heal properly without a ton of scar tissue. But you're always good the year after you come back, not the year you come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm thinking about. If they get rid of Bakhtiari, he's probably going to go to another team and be all pro.
Right.
Right. And they might have to cut him. And I couldn't agree more with you about Bayless and Shannon Sharp's just as big as the character he is. Believe it or not, I can tell you some things he said that were completely wrong. And there's one thing he said about Cedric Maxwell. You remember the guy who's doing the radio now, and he said something about him, and Cedric Maxwell came out that night. He says, "I never spoke to the man, and he never spoke to me." Because he brought up race. And Maxwell says, "I never had a problem in Boston with race, whether I was a player or a broadcaster in any which way." And Sharp connected Maxwell with Bill Russell with those issues. And he just throws things out there. I can't believe that some of these people aren't held liable for this stuff. You can't say Bill Michaels is
right.
This. Say that.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I'm saying?
I agree with you. Because it was Doug Gottlieb that had talked about the ramifications of a contract, and it turned out not to be true. And he even said, "I kind of made it up," and he had to come out and basically apologize for it. I don't know why. There have been times that things have been said, and it's just like all of a sudden it just goes away, and people don't talk about it. And they're never made to say, "Hey, I was wrong," or "I screwed up," or whatever. And you know what? It goes back to what I was saying earlier, because there's just more than a few people that don't have character. They hit send, they say whatever they want, and then they walk away from it. And it's up to us to decipher whether it was right or wrong, and then whether or not there's credibility or not credibility. And eventually they do that enough, you just walk away from them and go, you're just full of crap. And that's the way I look at it.
There's so many people out there. I agree. And one of these people, there's so many people out there that want to see arguments all day long. They want to see these two guys, and they get so many of these dumb debate shows on all the time, whether it's political. You see, that political debate shows went into sports, And now the sports are sitting there debating over something and screaming and yelling at each other and the whole bit and everything else.
Mhm.
It's just dumb and it never gets anywhere anyway.
I completely agree. Yep.
It's just, well, thanks, Bill.
All right, buddy.
You take care.
Talk to you soon. He drops off. You get on board. 877-867-1670. Again, 877-867-1670 if you want to hit us up. Feel free. Give us a call. Phone lines open. Besides Gerard, phone lines are open. This one's from, who's this from? This is from Kirk. Kirk says, not a huge Vikings fan, but I believe the Vikings will be a good representative in the NFC North. I think we're going to turn it on at the end of the season. Once the postseason gets here, it's going to be a tough place to play at US Bank Stadium. That's going to have a say in how the playoffs go. Boy, I would agree to a certain extent, but once you get up on the Vikings, I believe the Vikings fans are of the ilk of here we go again. I really do. If you're a team that goes in and goes toe to toe with the Vikings, the fans can make a difference down the stretch. There's no doubt. If you're in a close game and there's a big series or 2 or 4 or whatever, that place can get loud. That place, I'll tell you what, out of all the stadiums I've been to, they put on a hell of a show. It's not just the team on the field. I'm talking about the sounds, the videos, everything. All of that. They put on a hell of a show. So their production is awesome, and it really does energize the fans. But I would, their defense is their defense. And if you've got a team that's going toe-to-toe with them and scoring pretty consistently, I still think no matter where you're playing, your defense is going to get exposed. And you're not playing teams like the Bears. You're not playing teams like the Carolina Panthers. You're playing teams that are coming in there that are, quality talent that have, obviously a pretty good record. They made it to the postseason. So they got something going for them. And the other side of the defense is the offense. And it's not so much the offense, but it's Kirk Cousins. The guy's got one postseason win. One. There's a reason for that. There are times where he just jokes. He will Jay Cutler you. He'll get you there, and then in a big moment, he'll throw that pick. And he's had that one good game where he played down in New Orleans and got a win, and that was his first and only postseason win. And beyond that, he's had the propensity to choke at times. So I would agree that if it came down to a 3rd and 9 and you're trying to get a stop, that place can get loud and crazy, especially if they start to get up on you. That we saw that with the Packers in game 1 of this season. That place was deafening. But I don't know if I'd say that's ultimate home field advantage, We'll take a break. Go ahead, Ben.
It was just, it must be noted, it was pretty good for the Super Bowl in 2017.
It was inside, not outside.
It was energetic for the teams that were playing in it.
Not outside. It was terrible. They had to cancel all the concerts because everything they wanted to do outdoors, it was just frigid. There was a band that was going to try to play, and the guitar player, his fingers were cracking because, you're obviously playing, the metal string guitars and such. It was just so cold, and they'll never do that. I can't say never, but they most likely will never take it to a cold weather climate like that again. Unless,
Probably shouldn't let Nick Foles play in it again either.
Unless, of course, for whatever reason, Green Bay builds a whole new facility, which I can never see happen.
Dome Stadium?
No. Nope. Not unless the NFL has to come here and make a bunch of promises. Otherwise, we don't see that happen.
Well, what if Rodgers is like 50? We're like, okay, he can't play in 10 degrees anymore. We got to build a dome. That's his thing. That's what I want from the organization.
Right.
He needs organizational support.
Okay. I don't see that happening either. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. More of the Bill Michaels Show next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Oh, ho, ho, I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood, fiberglass, and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no.
Absolutely. But no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Why see show for details?
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
many different offensive systems and having to learn that. But it came in handy when having to learn a crash course and being able to relate certain things and protect them is similar to what I had in Cleveland. So that knocks out a big chunk of the learning curve, and just trying to learn all the motions and the terminology for that.
Aaron Rodgers was on the McAfee show and says what Baker Mayfield did in that win over the Raiders was unique.
I think you got to look at that game as an outlier. The fact that Baker played, the fact that they had to score twice in the fourth quarter to win. They went on a 90-some-yard drive to win the game. Pretty impressive.
That's Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
I did all mine and going through all the home stuff. When you look at it and say whether or not I'm looking for pre-approval, I'm looking for the new house, looking to sell, I'm looking for refinance, I'm looking to get cash and money, whatever it happens to be, get into your home equity a little bit. Check out our buddy Scott Ellis, scottellisteam.com. That's scottellisteam.com. If you're looking for a mortgage, if you're looking for, like I said, get into the home equity, whatever it happens to be, go to scottellisteam.com. Homeside Financial, they did a fantastic job for me. They really, really did. Everything was smooth, always available, which when you're going through that, it's kind of hard because, everybody works. Everybody has different days, different times of day that they have to, be available. But he was available pretty much all the time. And even in some of the later hours, give Scott a call, 414-791-7771, 414-791-7771. Again, 414-791-7771. And the one thing that he wants me to tell you and remember is, the interest rates are going up, and we all know that. But he said, look, get the house you want now because the interest rates are going to eventually come back down. Then you can refinance. So don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Jeff says, totally agree regarding Bayless and Green, both Jags. And said he got you on WOZZ. Yas. Talked about the live stream. Is it down? No, the live stream's up and running. Live stream's running. It's just the live stream. Here's the thing with the live stream for those that listen on the live stream. I said this yesterday, I think. YouTube has begun cracking down on any copyrighted music. So what happens is we've got a thing in place, a button in place that when the music comes on, you lose the sound. So YouTube doesn't crack down on us for using 20 seconds of a song. And then when we begin to talk and the music dies, then we, turn it back on. That's what happens. That's all. That's all. But for those listening on a stream, a web app or something like that, or if you're listening over the air radio, you don't even notice it. You don't even miss it. Nothing changes there. So, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. What else do we have for by the way, coming up after the top of the hour, Mike Clemens happened to catch up with Romeo Dobbs. So we're going to hear a little bit from him. Also, he caught up with AJ Dillon, Alan Lazard, got some stuff there as well that we can listen to. So as the Packers, they were at their lockers. Not everybody was out yesterday, but there was a few people at their lockers yesterday. So we'll hear that. Also, some discussion with Luke Fickell we got for you coming up. So we're not done by any stretch of the imagination. We got another hour of the show yet to go. And as they say in show business, the best is yet to come. Or I could just be full of crap. One of the two. Good stuff there as well. Hang in there. We got a lot more to come. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Water Doctors, H2, the letter O, doctors.com. You're looking for the Connecticut water softening system. It's fantastic. Nothing better. John Atlee and the crew, fantastic. And they donate back. Call John directly.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Aaron Rodgers says his body is feeling good after the Packers bye week. The quarterback was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, was asked about his broken thumb and banged up ribs and how they were feeling after the week off.
Thumb is doing a lot better. It was nice to have that week off. The ribs are doing better too. I was able to finally start getting some sleep. Yeah, but my body's feeling a lot better. Look, nobody wants a week 14 bye. Nobody does. But it always feels good coming back after the bye, whether you're 21 or whatever the hell old I am now. It's nice to get that week off.
That audio from the Pat McAfee show. Packers were on the practice field yesterday. They'll be back out there tomorrow as they continue getting ready for a visit from the Los Angeles Rams on Monday night. Turning to the Badgers, they're in the midst of bowl prep for the Guaranteed Rate Bowl against Oklahoma State in less than 2 weeks. New coach Luke Fickell says they have not decided on who will start a quarterback for them in that game. Now that Graham Mertz is in the transfer portal, will either be senior Chase Wolf or true freshman Miles Burkett. Meanwhile, the team got a commitment from three-star tight end Tucker Ashcraft last night. The Washington product had been committed to Colorado until earlier this month. He was the third commitment for Fickell in about 24 hours.
Want to save even more at Fleet Farm? Well, now you can with Fleet Rewards. It's free to sign up, and there's no credit card required. Using Fleet Rewards is easy. Earn points every time you shop. Plus, get exclusive member offers, birthday and anniversary perks, free tire rotations, and more. Download the Fleet Farm app or create an account at fleetfarm.com/rewards to start earning points today. Fleet Farm, proudly serving the Midwest since 1955.
Well, the Bucs hammered Golden State last night, beating the defending champs 128-111. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 30 points, 12 rebounds. Bobby Portis added 25 points off the bench. They'll be in Memphis tomorrow. And the Badgers back at practice today. They're going to host Lehigh tomorrow at the Kohl Center. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Welcome back, and it's good to have you. The Bill Michaels Show, final hour, happens here. Glad to have you on board today. 877-867-1670. Hit us up on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Ben Z. Kenny, Facebook fan page. You can watch the show, chime in over there. Find us on YouTube. Find us on Twitch TV. Email the program via BillMichaels@gmail.com. You can always listen to anything and everything you hear right here on the show. You can catch it on the podcast, Apple iTunes. You can catch us on Google. You can catch us on Spotify. So plenty of ways to consume the program. Romeo Dobbs in the locker room yesterday talks about the high ankle sprain and what did he think of the decision during the pregame warmups at the Bears and not being allowed to play.
I thought it was a great decision. I thought it was a great decision for myself. I made sure I did everything throughout the week. I tried to see how the ankle felt, cutting, moving around, just playing the position. And I thought it was a great decision just to sit out for the Bears game. I knew that I had to being able to use the bye week to get my ankle back going again. So, it was a great decision. I felt good with it. It was a hard decision. I was thinking about it all week. I mean, I'm glad I feel great today.
So coming into this week, has he been able to do everything that he wants to do on the ankle coming into this week in practice?
Yes, I have. I went full speed on it today. It felt great being able to plant. And just looking forward to tomorrow. So I feel good.
Forward to today, seeing if it's sore, seeing if it's not sore. He also was then asked, does he expect to play on Monday night?
Yes, I'm really expected to play Monday. I got more time than I had up until then.
There you go. And then last but not least, how big of a help has Alan Lazard been this year? When it comes to the wide receivers, the wide receiver room, guys like Lazard and Randall Cobb, how big of a help has that been?
Really, he's been helping all the young guys. But just as far as like understanding the game, he's always been in Christian Lord, some of the other guys who just
There you go. That's really a lot of background noise. That's okay. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, do it. Romeo Dubs, coming in. Obviously, you're glad that he's back. You're glad that, and the other thing is, you remember, you're also glad Watson. These two guys finally get a chance to play together. That's the best part about it. That they finally get a chance to play together, because you haven't had that consistently throughout the season. Obviously, starting out, Christian Watson was nicked up, hamstring and such, and Dobbs got nicked up. They haven't had consistent time together. So now maybe it happens. Now maybe it happens. Hope, 877-867-1670. You want to find us? This is from Joe. Joe says, hey, unit, going back to the question earlier, do I think the Packers can even win out? My answer is no. I've heard you say it a million times. You can't unsee the past. Has this team learned from their own mistakes? Certainly not until the Bears game did it even look like they learned from their mistakes. Tackling's still an issue. And as long as the defense is poor and Joe Barry's at home, no way. Is that it? Is that going to be can you see, Ben, a situation where the defense where the offense finally starts to put up some points? We saw it against Philadelphia. They put a little bit of a fight in the second half against the Buffalo Bills. Obviously not in Detroit, although they did move the ball in Detroit. It was the turnovers that cost. But can you see a scenario in which this team finally starts to score, but yet in a game, say like against Miami, or a game, say against Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins and company, where they lose 30-28 or 35-27, they finally start scoring points, but the defense can't stop anybody?
That feels like if they're going to play well, that's probably the formula. But
right.
I'm still not as optimistic about the offense overall.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a season of ups and downs where, they've shown it for a drive or for a half, but not for an extended period of time.
Right.
That Eagles game also, they were starting at the 50-yard line half the time. Yards per play, they were very good. They were very efficient. You obviously had the big strike to Watson late, but Keyshawn Nixon, and they had the fumble. They ran back to the opposing 20. Like, it was weird. They didn't really have to sustain drives across the whole field.
Right. I can see the scenario in which they don't get there. That I can see I can finally see what we've been waiting for. I can finally see where things are starting to take off and things are starting to go rather well. And offensively speaking, where all of a sudden you got Christian Watson, Romeo Dubs, they're catching passes, moving the sticks, using Aaron Jones. Everything starts to really flow. And then all of a sudden this defense, and I shouldn't say all of a sudden, the defense just flat out lets them down. If the defense would play the way we thought they would play, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I just don't. I don't see it happen. That's my biggest argument. So when it comes to the reality, and people say, "Well, how can you talk about that?" Well, when it comes to the reality of all of this, I think the offense can get better and will get better, and I think just the fact that Aaron Rodgers is feeling better is going to make a difference. But I just can't look at this defense and go, "Oh yeah, they're going to get better. They got this." Because do you suddenly get better in the trenches? I don't think so. I don't think so. You suddenly get better, with your coverage in the secondary. Maybe you get a bit of a pep in your step. But to me, this team has looked slow. This team has played slow. Quay Walker, unless, of course, over the last week and a half, he's figured out a move to be able to get off of an offensive lineman. He tackles, he runs, but he can't get off of offensive lineman. So unless he's all of a sudden figured that out, Devondre Campbell comes back and he is what we saw him to be last year. I mean, otherwise, I don't see it. I don't see it happen. Just don't. So again, I don't mean to sit here and, on one hand, seem like I'm blowing smoke, and on the other hand, I'm throwing the big bucket of cold water on you. But it's kind of like I'm just giving you the dose of reality. Can they make it? Yes. Will they make it? Most likely. Hope they do, though. Hope they do. Marcus says the exact same thing. He He says, do I think my team is going to be there? No. Do I hope my team is? Yes. Go Pack, go. See you on Monday. Simple as that. Understand it. Understand.
538, Bill, has them at 11 for the record. Make the
playoffs. How did it go
and that's
down?
up from about 8. Well, it was up at 8% last week.
I thought it was
It went down.
11.5%.
I'll go check again. It went down significantly when the Giants and Commanders tied.
Oh, okay. Because I thought last week going into the weekend, I thought ESPN had them at 11.5%.
Yeah, ESPNs are weird. ESPN is the Cowboys as the Super Bowl favorite. I think they juice the numbers a bit for whatever narratives they run.
Okay. All right.
That's a conspiracy I'm very deep in on, by the way.
No, I don't have a problem with that. I would go right along with you. Po Boy says, hey, you're going to see you up at Lambo Field on Monday night. Are you going to be out and about early? My tailgate group wants to get you a beer. Here's the problem. There's 4 games, even during, I don't drink. Got to work afterwards. So I don't do it. But I will stop by. Just let me know your location. I will stop by and grab a bite to eat. I don't mind that. Maybe a water, but I don't drink anything. So thank you. Not to shoot you down, but thank you. Certainly appreciate it. By the way, here's Ben, you found it. So the Packers playoff chances rose from 9.1 to 11.7 after the games for, quote, AMOC 419, according to Matt.
That's the Athletics poll.
So it went up. They're at 11.7%. I think, now this is just me, but I think the biggest stumbling block for the Green Bay Packers is not getting 3 out of 4 losses from the Giants or getting 2 out of 4 losses from Seattle. I think the biggest stumbling block for the Packers is the Packers winning out. That's the biggest stumbling block. For all the other things, other things, I think the Packers are going to have trouble winning out.
I also saw a terrific stat that Monday night might be the coldest game the Rams have ever played in.
Really?
It's supposed to be in the teens. Like kind of normal for us. But I guess they aren't often in this part of the world during this time of year, and it hasn't been that cold. Or they're inside.
Interesting. I still don't think it matters a whole lot, but interesting. You know what? Here's the thing. We get into this whole discussion about cold and, this is Packer weather. It hasn't meant jack since Michael Vick ran all over him for Atlanta. It just hasn't. Hasn't meant anything. They had a cold game for the NFC Championship game with Favre. They got beat. Cold game for Favre or for Rodgers in the snow. Perfect. Snow globe game, everything. They got beat. The cold weather thing is now a myth. Nothing more. Nothing more.
I'm getting people angry on Twitter these days because I started this bit. Like, how I have the whole, like, great hire, don't know if it's going to work out. Or great trade, might work out, might not thing. Mm-hmm. I've started to tweet pictures of, like, 3 feet of snowfall and say, hey, do you think Phil Longo's offense can work in this weather? And everyone says, but Wisconsin doesn't play in that weather.
Right.
It's like, yeah, that's the joke.
That's the point.
But every picture I post, I'm putting more and more snow in it. Mm-hmm. It gets more and more ridiculous until people realize
get that picture up there at Buffalo Stadium. Throw that out there and say, just taking a look inside Camp Randall. Do you think the offense can operate?
Can a high-powered passing offense work in this weather?
Right. Yeah. Okay. 877-867-1670. Hit us up. Let's take a quick break. Come back. Got a lot more to get to. I want to hear from Luke Fickell as well. So stick around for that also. Hang in there. A lot more. Bill Michael next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michael Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Stuff. They're ringing in the new year again this year, and if you're looking for a hotel stay, just something to do. Weather's not great, so you want to stay inside, all inclusive, so to speak. You got everything right there at your fingertips. Terrific dining. By the way, bingo is coming back. They just announced that. I don't know the exact date, but bingo is coming back. Look for that to be coming back to Potawatomi Hotel Casino soon, too. But bingo is coming back. Coming back to Potawatomi. Not a bad way to go. 877-867-1670. Ben, the coldest game the Rams have played, is that true? Because they're saying, some people are saying that back in 1992, the Rams played here, and it was like 15 below wind chill.
Those people are correct.
There
It is
you
the
go.
coldest in 30 years.
In 30 years that they played. Gotcha.
Which, I mean, it's more than my lifetime.
Sure.
Some
And
would look at
over
that and
30
say
years. In 30 years.
that's almost forever. It's a figure of speech, right?
Right. Nothing wrong with that. There you go. This one is from Mike. Mike says, "Hey, I'm really liking what Luke Fickell is doing. Luke Fickell's doing a lot of good stuff for the Wisconsin Badger program and giving us a lot of excitement. Do you think in a couple of years we could actually be talking about a national title, especially when they go to 12 teams? I think that you could be talking about this team being in the tournament. Absolutely. Yes. Luke Fickell, by the way, was talking the other day about who's going to be coaching, doing what, all that kind of stuff come the bowl game. He said he's not sure who's going to coach the offensive line in the bowl game, but he's really, honestly, he's not worried about it.
We'll have some guys. There's a lot of people within this building that can coach the offensive line. All right. I mean, if there's one thing that I learned about being here, there's plenty of offensive line coaches. Right. I mean, we've got them all over the place, all Americans. Coach, maybe Mac will be down there to coach the O-line a little bit, but there's no shortage of who's going to coach the offensive line and how they've done it for a long time.
Then you got his role, what he's doing as a coach right now.
I'm just kind of, making sure I'm out there to get to know these guys and keep everything rolling and smooth. So what position? I'm not really coaching a position. Kind of trying to stay out of the way as much as possible, and just trying to help manage the flow of things as best as I possibly can. And building relationships.
Luke Fickell talks about the guys removing it. And, as we talked about earlier, there's been kind of a turnaround. Some guys were leaving, and all of a sudden they went, whoa, wait a minute. Something's happening here. So now they're taking their names out of the portal. He talks about guys removing their names.
Obviously, a couple of those guys that had declared their intentions, and, we didn't let up on them. We thought that they were here for a reason. They were here because they love the culture, they love the environment, they love the place. Sometimes guys maybe make some decisions that are a little bit quicker. They don't go through a lot of different things. And we continued to stay on them. We continued to have those conversations with them. And as long as they would continue to talk to us, we felt like, hey, we deep down inside, I think this is where they want to be.
In addition to that, Luke Fickell started talking about, kind of the mesh. He's trying to get the old recruiting staff, new guys going, because he's increasing that staff, and he's trying to get the mesh going between the old guard, if you will, and the new regime.
So they've worked hand in hand. We've only brought a couple of people with us to help us in recruiting, and we've actually had some of those guys on the road, so they're not here every day. So all that have been involved in recruiting have done a phenomenal job, and we had a really good weekend. And it's not because, all these new people were coming in. It's because of what those guys have done, how well they, think of this place and what they want for the future, whether they're going to be here or not.
When it comes to Luke Fickell, the discussion has been, what's he going to do a quarterback? Who's going to be the next quarterback? What is he looking for and all that kind of stuff. And he discussed, he said, this is what I want in the next quarterback of the Wisconsin Badgers.
Leader, winner. And I think that they come in all different shapes and sizes. But if you don't find a leader and you don't find a winner, I don't care how accurate they are. I don't care how big they are. I don't care how fast they are. Obviously, we all have the things that we're looking for. I've always wanted a guy that can move. It doesn't mean he's got to be a running quarterback. But if you can't extend things, you can't make things happen with your athleticism, I think it limits you.
Bowl games, I know Badger fans talk about it all the time because it's, we're happy going to a bowl. Well, we just want to get to a bowl. We want to be able to get out of Wisconsin to go party somewhere. And I don't think that's true anymore. I think that's kind of cliche. I think there is an expectation to make things better now for the Badgers. But Fickell does say when it comes to bowl games, it's about who wants it more.
There's guys that are really able to step in and I don't know if they'll miss a beat. Will they look the same? Will they, maybe have the experience the same? Maybe not. But I tell you what, they'll play every bit as hard. And I think that, the way you play together is the way you win bowl games in particular. The way you win all football games, but even more so when you go into these bowl games, it's about who wants to be there and who's willing to do the things they need to do.
When you talk about guys,
Bill, I just gotta say, that's my favorite sports cliche ever.
What's that?
Oh, we gotta want it more. Oh,
right.
Oh, they wanted it more. It's just classic.
Sometimes there's something to be said for that. You can see it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can see a team that just comes out with energy and they just are tenacious and they beat on you until you succumb. We've seen it. We've seen the Packers go through this. And it's not so much where the Packers have done it, where the Packers have been the team this year to succumb, where they just don't look like. How many times have we did the postgame show and you hear somebody say, they didn't come out and look like they were ready to play, or they didn't come out and look like they wanted it. Right? We hear it all the time. But you're right. I mean, it's a cliche. It's individually, players want to succeed, players want to win, players want to look good, they want to feel superior in their peers, they want to be recognized. So you don't ever go out saying, I don't want it. But there are days in which you try and you just look bad doing it and it doesn't click. It doesn't happen. And that's where they wanted it more than we did today. Or the old, they came in hungry because they have nothing to lose. I mean, it's like an underdog team coming in going, we're not supposed to lose this game. Let's just go out and be tenacious and just let it all hang out, whip their ass. And it's a team that looks like how does a team that's supposedly this good look this bad? Well, the other team wanted it more. It's not about want sometimes. Sometimes it's just about, what your attitude is going into the game. Do you feel like you've already won it? You feel like you've got to play your best to win it? Do you feel like you just got to let it all hang out to win it, or are you playing conservative and energy wise? Are you following your head coach? Are you following your coordinator? Are you following your position guy? And there's so much to that. There's so many layers to that. But you're right. It's a very cliche thing just to say they won it. By the way, Fickell says, speaking of the guys that have left, you look at practice, you really can't tell that certain guys just aren't here anymore.
I don't know the difference. I've watched some film, so you might say, oh, there's a difference with Joe Tipton in there or something. But to be honest with you, the great thing, I don't know the big difference. So I'm a little more on the positive side. Hey, they look good to me. Let's find out who we got. And let's find a way to finish this thing.
The one cautionary tale in this is that portal being open now and bowl games coming up. Bowl games are going to look like this, where you go into a regular season, play the entire season, and all of a sudden, at the end of the year, you got guys. And so when you go into the bowl game, you have to go into the bowl game. You have the unfortunate thing, byproduct of the portal system, that the more and more bowl games are going to look like this moving on down the road.
I think this is the future a little bit of some bowl games. Is kind of getting a great vision for what your team's going to look like the following year, just by nature. So anybody that thinks that you have a hard time competing a competitive team would think that you don't have a real program in place. Even just being here 12 days, 14 days, whatever it is, I can tell you that there's a phenomenal program in place. Meaning that there's guys that
He also says, by the way, when he was going back to the quarterback position, when he was asked, hey, who's playing quarterback? He's like, I don't know.
So I don't know that we've made a decision on that yet. That won't be my decision. Let's be honest with you. That's kind of what I'm talking about being the head coach. I got the utmost respect for what these guys know and what gives us the best chance to win. I just like to sit down with them and if they have any questions things that I might see, they can ask. But the reality is, it's going to be what they believe is best.
Now, this is interesting because Fickell is bringing his own people when it comes to recruiting. Recruiting is the life's blood. So it's kind of like a president of a football team. Draft is your life's blood. And sometimes when you're the president, you want to bring in another general manager, somebody else to bring in a different eye, an eye that agrees with yours, to look at talent and then be evaluated and move on because you know the system that they bring. Fickell says, some people from the recruiting staff could stay on after, but it's going to depend on how well they mesh with his people.
I couldn't be more proud about how that's been and how it's been handled and even how the mesh has gone. Just a few of the recruiting guys that have come with us just because, we know them. It has worked really, really well together. And there's a lot of decisions to be made that maybe this can work really well with some of these guys and people that have got an incredible history here.
Bowl game, though, getting back into it, it's a chance for people to kind of step up and make, you got a new coach, you got a new eyes on, and if you're not leaving, if you're not transferring out, maybe you're somebody who just wants to get more playing time. Now's the time to show your wares.
These guys understand that's just another opportunity for somebody else. And when you've got the depth in the program, when you've done the things as well as they've done them, I think that's just another chance for somebody else to step up. And
the one thing to remember about the bowl game, while it may not be a big deal to you, it may not be a huge deal to me. It's not a national title game. It's for some guys, it's a huge deal. For seniors, this is it. This is their last game. So it's a big deal in many different regards.
what's most important is getting prepared for Oklahoma State, finish this thing out the right way for a lot of guys within this program, seniors being first and foremost. So we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of things to do, but I'm excited about what we have done and what we're going to do.
We talked about this earlier. He said, look, recruiting and bringing guys in, the high school ranks, that's really your life's blood. But they're not going to use the transfer portal to build the program, but you're not going to turn it away either.
Everybody would say, well, what about the transfer portal? I'm going to be honest with you. That's not the way we want to continue to build our program. That's not the vision that I have. I don't think that's the vision for what this place is and should be, meaning that you take high school kids, you develop them over a 4 or 5 year period, and you get amazing results. Now, we all understand that there are some situations where you've got to fill the gaps, and that's, to me, what it would be as a transfer.
And then he also talked about, hey, you're just not going to start recruiting and filling up guys and giving out scholarships and such just to put bodies.
But there's a balance. There's a balance of guys that we knew a lot about, whether they were committed to us in the past or guys that, we were recruiting that maybe we didn't have an opportunity to get just based on where we were. But what's not just hastily to say, we got to fill up this class. We got to get 20 or 22 players to sign so we can bring them in. I think that we got to be really smart with what we're doing. We got to take the ones that we know are going to be a good fit.
And last but not least, he said to say that they're not going to be competitive going into the bowl game, so that's not true.
I think it's a great opportunity for more people to step up, show their leadership skills. To be honest, I don't worry one bit about can we be competitive or not. I mean, the whole objective is to win. It's not be competitive. Whether I'm just walking in the door, it'd be complete disrespect to every one of those kids sitting in those seats that think that they were brought here, but yet we don't think that they can put a competitive, even have a competitive advantage on the field with a really good football team. So I don't think that's a thought in anybody's head. I know it's not a thought in my head, and I sure could tell you just from watching practice, that is not a single thought in the heads of anybody out there.
So there you go. That's Luke Fickell talking yesterday. Let's do this. We'll step away. We'll take a quick break. Come back. We got a lot more of the Bill Michaels Show next.
This is the Bill
Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Williams. 877-867-1670. Judge Smales burner account says the SEC has never lost a bowl game that they cared about. Are you kidding me? Who was it the Badgers whooped the hell out of not that long ago? Was it Arkansas?
I think the joke is after they lose, they then say they didn't care.
Correct. Just trying to think of all the losses that I can remember that even the Badgers have gotten against the SEC. This is true, though. You are correct. But yeah, the SEC is it's kind of like when the Bears said they didn't really care about the last game of the season and they allowed the Packers to win. And it was like, no. I remember being in that locker room. Brian Urlacher looked over and said, I think we allowed the Giant to wake up. Never forget that. Never forget that. Yeah, you're right. The SEC is just a bunch of weenies.
Also not the best conference in the country this season.
No, they're not. When well, that's an interesting argument because the SEC this year, and when you obviously look at the rankings and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how really to look at all of that because it's so subjective to a certain extent. And because I don't like the way they do it. I don't like that they start ranking teams 2 or 3, 4 weeks into the season, preseason, because I think it's garbage. USC kept falling after their second win. They dropped 7 spots. And, there were teams that started, like Badger started at 18. I mean, come on. And then they just were completely just annihilated throughout the season. I just think it's garbage. That there's certain teams that are going to be pretty good. We can all agree upon that. But Tennessee looked good, then they didn't. You had Utah looked real good, but they had 3 losses on the season. They still end up at number 3 in the country. Are they better than USC? Are they better than Penn State? Penn State only with 2 losses on the season. Is Utah better with that 3rd loss than what Penn State puts up? That's why this whole thing of the ranking system, I know you don't like it, Ben. That's the reason I like the 12-team playoff.
That's why I don't like the 12-team playoff.
Well, because then you actually find out, is Utah worthy of being there? Is Penn State worthy of being there? Then you start to find out if somebody overrated. If you go with just 8, okay, they would be arguing about 9, 10, maybe 11. But, is Florida State at number 13 better than an 11-2 Tulane? Is it just because they play in the ACC? Like they have to be better?
I think Tulane's probably better for the record, but the whole reason why I don't like it is I would argue those teams aren't good enough to play for the national title anyway because they lost games.
But isn't that okay? So then you go back a couple of years when Central Florida, when UCF went undefeated and proclaimed themselves the champion. Should they have been there?
Which is funny.
Right. But all they had to do was win. And that's what they did. So by your logic, then they should have been the champion.
Well, they played in a lower level.
There we
they
go.
were playing
Now,
against
but now
lower
but
teams.
that's not what you said. You said it was do they belong to be there if they have a loss? Because you're going up against Georgia and Michigan, who are undefeated.
I want to find what year that was, because there might have been undefeated teams in the top anyway that are better.
There probably was, but my point being is that, and there probably was one or two, but my point being is that team deserves a shot. All you can do is play your schedule. And, there are some teams, and once they started doing this where they quit paying these, this strength of schedule really counted, and they quit playing the mid-majors because they didn't want any part of it because there's no win there. If you win, you're supposed to. If you lose, the knock against your team is terrible. So the mid-majors, all the UCFs and such, they quit playing them. They don't want to play them anymore. Because, remember when Appalachian State beat Michigan? They don't want to play them anymore because of the possibility of losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say just go to a better conference.
But that's just it. They can't.
Schedule better teams. It was 2018.
Okay.
It was 2018. Bama was 13-0. Clemson was 13-0. Notre Dame was 12-0, but they stunk.
Yeah.
And then Oklahoma was 12-1. But I would argue you only need a
Notre Dame's
model
linebacker
both years
was
to
dating
solve
a fictitious
it.
woman. Ready to marry.
Oh no, that was 2014.
Oh, that's
2018 was Ian Book.
That's right. Ian Book. Yes. Thank you. But okay. So the other fourth team in the country that could have been undefeated would have been UCF. Should they have been there?
Sure. I don't know. I don't think it would have mattered. Alabama would have run over them by 50.
See, but they said that about
like
Cincinnati
they did to Oklahoma.
Last year. They said that about Cincinnati last year. Cincinnati
they lost by 3 touchdowns.
Cincinnati did?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they still played. It was absolutely, I agree with you. Cincinnati didn't have the capability to compete, but they didn't get blown out 50-0 like everybody said they would.
Correct. They did better than I thought they would do.
There you go.
But it still showed you the different playing field that these programs are on.
But it didn't show you that they didn't deserve to be there.
Oh, they deserve to be there, definitely. I just wish it was at 2 teams, so then we could put all that stupid stuff aside and say, okay, Georgia, Michigan this year, they're the best teams. They're the most deserving. Have them play.
Okay.
Everyone else is lost. So what does it matter? Like they had chances to go undefeated, but they lost those games.
Well, but by that logic, then though, wouldn't you just put the best 2 record teams in one in the NFC and the AFC, and those 2 teams play for the championship and call it a day?
In the NFL?
Yeah.
College football, the nature of it's different, I think.
Not at the top, it's not.
The schedules aren't even.
I would say there's as much money, if not more, near the top with Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama. You can go through USC. There's so much money out there to be had and funny.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the regular season and the weight of certain matchups, where when Florida plays Utah at home, and Florida turned out to be not great as the season went on. Utah loses that game. It's a tough place to play. Mm-hmm. You're traveling and you're in the swamp and you lose. Then you kind of see your playoff chances go to the wayside as well when you lose those games.
Yeah.
The national champions like Georgia walloped Oregon in the first week, and they've proved it. And yeah, they've had some near slip-ups, but they won. I don't know. It's either here nor there. My whole thought was that the Big 12 was the best conference in the country this season.
The Big 12? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Top to bottom?
But don't we consider that a lesser conference? Not nearly as competitive? You're right. You're right because you're only as good as the bottom half of your conference. And the bottom half of their conference was competitive. But are they better than Michigan State? Are they better than Minnesota? Are they better than the Badgers? Are they better than Iowa? Well, everybody was better than Iowa and Nebraska. But are they better?
There are 50 teams in the country better than the
Rutgers
Badgers too.
And Maryland, and you go down that list. So no, Big 12 had a good season. I'll give you that. And isn't this the season in which Oklahoma and Texas bid goodbye to the Big 12 and they move over to the SEC next year? Or is that 2024?
24, I believe.
Okay. Because Texas
one more year.
Ended up at 21st in the country at 8-4, 4-loss team.
But they were better than that.
But that's not. You know what? We're gonna break because I'm driving to Madison to punch you. We'll be back right after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Ho, ho, ho! I need a window.
Baby, it's cold outside.
So where do I go? Ho, ho.
Come on, Santa. Go to Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Now is the time to replace your leaky windows and doors. You and Mrs. Claus can get your new windows while putting no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. Unwrap this gift now, but pay for it 2 years later.
More jingle that stays in my pocket.
That's right, Santa. Plus, our elves install year-round and in as little as 1 day. Pella offers lines in luxurious wood to fiberglass and vinyl.
Why not make a New Year's resolution today?
That's the spirit, Santa.
Hella no, pay later.
Absolutely. Put no money down, no payments, and no interest for up to 24 months. But you have to hurry. Offer ends December 31st. Schedule your free consultation today at PellaWI.com.
Sure, with compliance control for details.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Now, in Green Bay, here's Mike Clemens.
The Packers are back from the bye, getting ready for Monday Night Football when they host the Rams. At 5-8, the Packers will need some help from teams in the NFC East and South if they have any hopes of making the playoffs. Packers safety Adrian Amos.
We can't control the scenarios, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, all we can control is win. If we lose, it don't matter anyway. So we just have to prepare to win out.
Wide receiver Romeo Dobbs was asked how he felt about the game-time decision in Chicago to not play with that high ankle sprain against the Bears.
I thought it was a great decision. Made sure I did everything throughout the week. I tried to see how the ankle felt, just cutting, moving around, just playing the position. And I thought it was a great decision just to sit out for the Bears game. I knew that I had an advantage being able to use the bye week to get my ankle back going again. So it was a great decision.
Aaron Rodgers on the McAfee Show asked how his ribs and fractured thumb are doing and how he spent the bye.
Thumb is doing a lot better. It was nice to have that week off. The ribs are doing better too. I was able to finally start getting some sleep. Yeah, but my body's feeling a lot better. It always feels good coming back after the bye, whether you're 21 or whatever the hell old I am now. It's nice to get that week off. Went to the beach, worked on my tan. Wore a lot of tank tops. Yeah, showed off my belly button a little bit and had a good time.
That's Aaron Rodgers. In Green Bay, I'm Mike Clemens on the Bill Michaels Show.
I agree with Ben. There you have it. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to find us and give us a shout, do it. We'd love to hear from you. Got a couple other things before we get out of here. This one's from Mark, who says, I don't mind the 12-team playoff. Let the best team win. You hate it because you believe it devalues the regular season, though, right, Ben?
Correct. I think those games that are played between top teams should end up deciding who makes the playoff. And I let the best team win. I would say that the best team would be the one that wins in the regular season.
But, well, wait a minute. Aren't you taking, say, the best out of the ACC, the best out of the Big 12, the best out of the Big 10, the best out of the FBS, the best out of the SEC, and pitting them all against one another?
Yeah, but if Purdue beat Michigan in the Big Ten title game, I don't think that would change the fact they lost, 4 or 5 games during the season. Plus, the ACC kind of stinks. Yeah, winning those conferences is great, but if you win the conference and have 4 losses, then how good are you?
But ultimately, well, first of all, Michigan beat Purdue, so Michigan's there. And Michigan would have been there even if they didn't beat Purdue, I believe. I feel like they would have still been there.
Yes, definitely.
As far as the 12 go, is the top 4, Michigan probably still would have been there. So if you take the best of the ACC, because if they all play a common schedule, that's one thing. But if you take the best of the ACC, the best of the SEC, best of the Big 12, best of the Big 10, and, Pac-12, whatever the hell that's going to be, you take the best out of all of that, and then those teams are near the top, and then you've got a couple of other teams that have made it or have been just as good. I don't have a problem with that because you're still winning your conference. Those conference champions are still going to be there, and those top conference teams are still going to be there. Now you're finding out if, like, the Big Ten was really weak and they get waxed by the SEC or vice versa, then you're saying, okay, it justifies and validates our thought that the SEC was really weak this year. Or this season, or maybe it was one dominant team and everybody else. And you know what I mean? I don't have if Tulane gets in there at 11-2, if Clemson's there and Florida State's there and North Carolina, well, they get beat because they're in that coastal division. So be it, But if the Big Ten has the top 2 teams, and Michigan and Ohio State, those are the best 2 teams. If the Nittany Lions are right there, I don't have a problem with it, but more so you probably the only this year was Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State. That's it. Everybody else wasn't even ranked at the end of the season.
I seen playoff if it would have happened this year in front of me. And I mean, it's a weird year where there weren't that many great teams and there was a lot of good teams and everyone was in the same pack. But you would have had number 5 TCU against number 12 Tulane. And yeah, Tulane's good, but whatever. You can miss me with that.
Okay.
TCU, I think, they're in anyway. They deserved it, even though they lost their conference title. Kansas State lost 3 times during the season. Tennessee lost a bunch of big games during the season. They lost
2. They lost 2. They lost 2.
But South Carolina beat them by 35. They got absolutely demolished.
Okay. Can you chalk it up as a bad team or a bad day?
Well, I would argue that teams should be judged based on how bad they are, how good they are during their bad days, if that makes sense. Can you have a bad day and still win, not lose by 30? USC would have played Bama. USC is the worst defense I've ever seen in my life, and they got destroyed twice against Utah. Bama had multiple opportunities to run the table and beat Bama, but they lost all those games, except for one where the opposing quarterback went out. Like, their team wasn't good this season. They played every game close, and they still would have gotten in. And you would have had Ohio State, Penn State. Penn State had 2 big chances. Ohio State, Michigan, they lost both.
Well,
Ohio State had a big chance. Michigan.
Yeah,
but then they lost at home to Michigan by 25.
I agree with that. It was a horrific game.
So I would argue, and then Clemson would have been in 2, and Clemson stinks. So I would argue that once you lose those games, you shouldn't really be in the mix still, because you're not that good.
That's because Georgia and Michigan both went undefeated, basically.
Yeah.
Had they not gone undefeated, I mean, usually it's very rare that we have a team that is not undefeated. Very rarely do you get everybody with 1 loss. But I also believe that if you are an undefeated team and you go by what your methodology is, that if you play a team that looks bad on bad days, you should be able to beat that team anyway. It should be kind of a formality than anything. And if you don't bring it on that day, then aren't in essence you doing the exact same thing that you're accusing the team that shouldn't be there of doing?
Well, that was confusing.
Okay, you're saying a team that looks bad on a bad day, they just didn't have it that day and they lose. So you've got a team like Ohio State that had a bad day, got beat at home by Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So in a rematch, in essence, Michigan should beat them because Michigan had a good day, played on the road, beat Ohio State at Ohio State. So,
yes, in theory.
So if Michigan then, in essence, has a bad day, you're saying that team, even on their bad day, should still be able to figure out a way to win. But if they get beat by Ohio State, then that blows that theory up because then Ohio State had a good day and Michigan had a bad day. So what can you tell from that?
Yes, I guess the point is
what you're doing is putting all the credit on the regular season, versus,
which it should be.
I agree with that. Which is versus the postseason. It's a
correct,
good debate.
Because
good debate.
I think it's a regular season sport, and I hate Ohio State.
God. All right, that's it. It's time for us to go. Ben's got his shot in. We're going to go ahead and do it. Get out of here. Don't forget, coming up tonight, we're going to be on the road. We're going to be at Steny, 2nd and National, Walker's Point tonight. Got the wings going, the Bill Michaels garlic cheese bread going. We're going to have a good time. Good time coming up tonight. Until we speak again this evening, time